I'm a believer, sometimes I believe the lies of the deceiver. The lies of seeds, when they sprout, they lead to seasons of spiritual amnesia. Deep-seated self-doubt, it creeps in my conscience, feeds my fear, and keeps me up at night conquered by critical thoughts. My mind is prone to conjure when it wanders, watching my failures. Playback on repeat. I try to change the chain of events, but can't rewind to find the delete button to push. I'm on the edge, it's like the world is about to end. I'm in the middle of Armageddon, with no arms, no weapons, no armor for protection. It's the testing of my faith, and I know the answer, but instead I'm just guessing. Like I forgot that God was my father, and I was set apart for his own possession. His word is my armor and my protection against the enemy's deception. But still I question, how can I receive such an incredible blessing when I feel like I'm less than? Because I went through a divorce and a second-rate Christian. I know that's a lie, so I won't listen. Through Christ I'm forgiven, I'm being formed into his image. According to God, I was called from the darkness into his marvelous light. He is near to the brokenhearted and faithful to finish what he started.
Anybody want to join?
Welcome to Real Talk and a sneak peek at the futuristic fantasy Johnny Mnemonic starring Keanu Reeves.
What are you doing?
Making a long-distance phone call. I got the goods, Ralphie. Now I just want to get them out of my head. So if you want to move information off of the net, you'd call me. Hit me.
Fit all that in your head anyway.
I had to dump a chunk of long-term memory.
You had to dump a chunk of what?
My childhood. There's some cool VR stuff happening. We do some cool VR.
Johnny Mnemonic can be in your future all month long. For more on the latest hit movies, stay tuned to Real Talk.
Armand and Albert just learned their son's getting married.
So this is hell.
Now, the in-laws are coming for dinner.
I'm teaching you to act like a man.
And they're preparing for an engagement they'll never forget.
Could you please give me a moment to myself to prepare?
Let's leave first. Come on.
The Birdcage.
Something very strange is going on.
A Mike Nichols film, rated R.
Cheers.
When a scientific experiment goes awry...
Are you all right? Don't be ridiculous. Dr. Jax. I'm gonna go.
Everyone gets to see a side of Dr. Jax
Richard!
they've never seen before.
You know, I've got a caulking gun, because that ain't gonna do it.
Sean Young and Tim Daly star in a case of Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde.
All you motherfuckers that's on here that's asking me did I sell my soul, why the f y'all on here if y'all think I sold my soul? Y'all coming right with me, you dummies.
But you gonna focus on that money. You gonna love and cherish the money. Once you love and cherish the money and you'll do anything to get the money, then that's when you sold your soul, my brother.
I want to get out this music industry because this is not for me, but I do it because I feed my family. But I don't want to be in this. This is not what God want me to do.
I sold my soul to the devil, I'll never get it back. I sold my soul to the devil for a small price.
I sold my soul to the devil.
And I'm done with the devil.
I kind of get possessed by the devil when I'm performing.
And I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to Lucifer.
still out here doing these songs? You know, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
So that's how I feel about that, bro. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. Cause the devil gonna make you do some crazy shit for that money. Straight up. And once you start working for the devil, you sow your soul, you feel me? Straight up. That's how that shit goes.
God don't want me to do this, but I do it to feed my family. And I want to get out this. I want to get out of the music industry because yes, you go through pain, you go through this because this is what the devil wants you to go through to destroy yourself.
Ran into the devil, baby, only 20 bills. Spent the night in Utah in a cave up.
Who wants to pray to the devil with me?
Set out running, but I take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
All the good girls go to hell.
People sell their souls to this devil because of money, and he really does give them money. But at the end of the contract, that's why Jesus said, what would it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
All right, so when you went there, the friend who took you there, what were you supposed to get from that particular shop?
So,
in particular, that was going to help your career grow.
Yeah, so Crystal took me to that shop, and what she said was, this man is going to initiate you, he's going to baptize you into the brotherhood. And then after he baptizes you, things are going to start going your way.
When you left prison and you got out and you started chasing fame and chasing clout, and then eventually you did chase money, do you feel like in that process you sold your soul at all?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. No doubt about it. Hell yeah.
It's the blind, leading the blind, leading the blind to their demise. It's the blind, leading the blind, leading the blind to their demise. Break the cycle. Break the cycle. System to its knees.
I've been in government for 25 years. I've never seen anything like this.
First at 11, this one is tough to believe. An investigation tonight into a possible illegal medical lab. It was operating out of an abandoned warehouse in Reedley. Inside, mice bioengineered to incubate the COVID-19 virus. The lab was discovered near I and 9th Streets. 30 refrigerators and freezers, some broken, were found filled with bodily fluids. Health officials tell us they are shocked at the biological house of horror. CBS 47's Juanita Adame live in studio with the shocking details tonight.
Well, Brian, this story is so complicated. There are local, state, and federal agencies all involved. Now, what prompted this investigation was a simple garden hose that was illegally attached and coming out of the back of a building. It was back in April inside this abandoned warehouse in Reedley that a discovery so shocking was made that it left local health officials stunned.
This is a truly unusual situation. I've been in government for 25 years. I've never seen anything like this.
I've never have seen this in my 26-year career with the county of Fresno.
What was supposed to be an empty building used only for storage was home to an unauthorized lab testing facility, something no one had even conceived of.
we reach out to our local public health directors throughout the state, California, and nobody has really expressed this type of interaction with a unlicensed lab. So it is something new.
The discovery was made after a local code enforcement officer noticed this garden hose poking out a back wall of the building.
Frankly, we knew that shouldn't be there. And when she went to go investigate, she found that there was activity or operation or something happening within that building.
The city then obtained several search warrants to enter the building. Once inside, no staff was located, but
there was a special room that was built housing about 1,000 mice, 1,000 white lab mice.
And the reason the mice were in the lab was jaw-dropping.
Through their statements, that they were doing some testing on laboratory mice there that would help them support developing the COVID test kits that they had on site.
Documents show the lab was also being used to produce pregnancy tests. 200 of the nearly 1,000 mice were already dead. According to court documents, all the rodents were being caged in, quote, inhumane conditions. Also found thousands of vials, many of which contained biohazards, materials including human blood, unidentified tissue, and other unknown substances.
A lot of these are being classified under unknown chemicals. Labels had been removed from bottles, so there was only certain testing we could do to those chemicals.
According to court documents, experts determined that at least 20 potentially infectious, viral, bacterial, and parasitic agents were being stored inadequately, including E. coli, malaria, and even COVID. The city of Reedley immediately called in the CDC, the FBI, the California Department of Public Health, and the Fresno County Department of Public Health.
I think because of that swift action that was taken, we really have been able to maintain public safety this entire time.
Over the course of several weeks, investigators figured out just what they were up against. And as of now,
there are no more biologicals, there are no more mice, but they still will see us abating. There's 30 freezers and fridges, there's medical equipment, there's all sorts of furniture in there. And so they'll still see some activity, nothing hazardous at this point.
Prado said the owners operated under the name Prestige Biotech, and so far they aren't saying much.
Some of our other federal and state partners still have active investigations going, so I really can speak more to the building side of it.
Now again, Reedley city officials emphasized that the lab had no city approval to operate and was supposed to be vacant. Investigators are working to figure out what to do next.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Tales from the Fallen World with Tim and Amber. And Amber, we got to switch sides. I'm under your name. All right, let's do our thing. Welcome to Tales from the Fallen World with Tim and Amber. I'm Tim.
I'm Amber.
Yeah, so thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. I don't know if y'all have heard of that little story that I just plugged right there. Yeah, apparently in what was supposed to be an empty building somewhere in California in Fresno County or wherever that is, they find a biolaboratory that has thousands of mice and all types of COVID vaccines and COVID test kits and human blood and all types of human body fluids and stuff. And I don't know if they just mentioned it there because I was trying to get this ready with Amber, but that story came out like 4 days ago. And I actually meant to do this live stream about 2 days ago, but we've been too busy with family stuff. And but to this point, I still really haven't hardly seen it in the news. A few conservative outlets have picked it up because, apparently with that biolab that was found in California, there's a lot of links to China. And, it really rings of all that Wuhan stuff. And, our Constitution promises to protect us from all threats, foreign and domestic. But sometimes those things can be two in the same, And so it's not good when you have Chinese connected biolabs in abandoned buildings popping up in California. I don't know where that really falls in the spectrum of, a psyop versus real news versus fake news. I don't know, but I haven't really heard it much in the mainstream media, which makes me wonder. And I really don't know much about it, but you guys can look more into that. That's not what we're talking about tonight, but I thought I would shed some light on that crazy story. So look that up. Chinese biolab found in California. So anyways, Amber, before we get into this, how have you been, babe?
I'm good. I'm pretty tired today, and I'm taking the kids to the beach tomorrow, so I'm just trying to get everything ready tonight because I'm not a morning person at all. And
Yeah, I'm not a morning person either. I could tell you real quick before we get into this action that we've Amber and I, as usual, have been so busy. But yesterday we did something fun, right?
Yeah, they all came out to see me at work.
Yeah, so Amber's a server at a nice restaurant, and I brought all 6 kids out there, and it was really funny because Amber was dressed up in all her server outfit, and I kind of was expecting for her to sort of order for the kids and take care of that. But it was really funny because as our meal was progressing and Amber kept coming over and scolding the kids and saying, like, Elliot, keep your hands to yourself and all this.
No,
and I was envisioning it from the perspective of a guest, because you just look like another server just being like.
No, and I was like, and it was Elliot, the 4-year-old. I was like, sit your butt down right now. You be patient. And
yeah,
it is just funny.
So that was last night. And then yesterday morning, one of our cats had 5 babies. So that's something, I love the cats, to be honest, but I'm really not very much of a pet guy per se. I'm probably like a typical man, conservative man when it comes to pets. But I mean, I do love the cats. But point is, the real reason I have the cats is because Amber just loves the cats. Ever since I first got with Amber, she was a package deal with these 2 cats. And since then, we've recycled so many cats. What Amber really likes are kitties, right?
Yeah.
And so this system kind of works out because we just have these.
No, I cannot.
We got these.
I cannot deal with it. It's honestly bad. Like, I love kittens, but the kids have been just constantly asking to go in our room. Actually, they don't even ask anymore. They just go in there and they just want to be with the kittens. It's ridiculous.
Well, the point is the Amber and the kids are obsessed with the cats, but we can turn around and sell them for $50 a pop. Amber gets to enjoy the cats when they're during their kitten phase, which is the best part. And so it all works out. So anyways, that's kind of going on. Hope that you guys are all being blessed and having a great day. And so as we get into this little slideshow that I put together, John Dalton. Hey, what's up, John? This is one of my Bible study guys right here. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you're here. As we get into... All right, so first off, I don't know what you guys thought about that little metal breakdown that I put in my intro. But that was, I'm honestly, I used to be in a screamo band, and I still, this far into my Christian walk, as a Christian, I still do kind of have a soft spot for just really aggressive metal music, as well as all types of music, as you guys, I'm sure, have picked up just from watching this channel, But what's interesting is I put that in there with an ad for The War Against Kids, which is a documentary on this channel that you should check out. Which is all about the satanic influence that the music industry has had on this, society. And so it might seem kind of contradictory, to hear some crazy screaming music in there. And in this live stream, I'm not going to make a case for metal Christian music or anything like that. But it's interesting because Josh, as he dug the breakdown, what's interesting is that that's a Christian metal band. Okay, they're called For Today, and the guy screaming in that band that you heard a little sample of in the intro, he's a pastor now. That song came out, I think, in 2012, so that's a decade old. That's my generation's idea of extreme music. And he's a pastor now, and I haven't really even listened to any of his sermons. I can't promise that he's not one of these emergent churches kind of pastors. But what I can say is just based on the music that I've heard, the lyrics, he's a guy that loves Jesus. The band, all of their songs are actually based in either spreading the gospel or depicting a Christian life, right? And I wanted to mention that as a backdrop for what we're going to be starting to talk about right here, because... Here, let's check this out. Wait, how do I get my screen the way I want it? Maybe like this, yeah. All right, so check this out real quick. Godless Sheathen. This guy right here, dressed up like a lady, goes by Flamey Grant. Now, you might remember in the early days of CCM, contemporary Christian music, one of the big stars was Amy Grant, right? She had a big mainstream hit. I don't remember what it's called. So this drag queen is kind of playing off that. She goes by Flamey Grant, a solo comedy cabaret about a sinner saved by lace. Godless Sheathen. A drag-tastic time of stories, songs, and shenanigans with Flamey Grant. Now, you might be thinking that this is an advertisement for an upcoming children's story hour at your local library. But no, this Flamey Grant is actually blowing up in the charts. Check this one out. Godless Sheathen. Sing your praise to the Lord, whether he likes it or not. A drag-tastic evening of stories, songs, and shenanigans with Flamey Grant. Now, I know you guys are probably getting sick of seeing all these drag queens in the news, whatever, you know, they're popping up everywhere. But what's interesting is that this dude right here in a dress, well, his album went to #1 on iTunes Christian charts. Okay. I pulled this out of Relevant Magazine, a magazine that at one point in my life I actually cared about. So on iTunes Christian charts, right, this guy, the Sing Your Praise to the Lord, whether he likes it or not, this guy in drag has the #1 album right now. Now, mind you, it's not, you know, solely Christians that are voting for this guy, as we're going to kind of see here. And it kind of gets you into the politics of like, well, as you're going to see, this is clearly, well, you already know this guy is clearly not a Christian, but it gets worse. Let's just read it. And then Sean Fucht, or whatever his name is, I know this is some controversial preacher. I can't speak for or against him, but I do agree with this tweet. If you're wondering the end goal of the deconstruction movement in the church, then look no further than former worship leader Derek Webb's new collab with drag queen. Now, Derek Webb is the former lead singer of another popular Christian contemporary rock band from the old days called Caedmon's Call. Okay, and he apparently produced this album with this drag queen. Let's just read this. I took it from. I didn't put it on there. Who cares? There's a surprising new name at the top of Christian music charts this week. Drag queen Flamey Grant's Bible Belt Baby has reached #1 on the iTunes Christian and Gospel album chart. And this is on the Christian chart, okay? 10 months after the album's release. Additionally, Grant's lead single, Good Day, peaked at #1. The #1 Christian song right now is Flamey Grant. The surprise rise up of the star is due in large part to Christian worship artist Sean Fucht after he criticized Derek Webb, former lead singer of Caedmon's Call, for collaborating with Grant on Good Day. So it was this tweet that sparked it. If you're wondering the end goal of the deconstruction movement in the church, as I just read, then look no further than former worship leader Derek Webb's new collab with a drag queen, he wrote. These are truly the last days. So that rings true on this channel. Grant responded to Fucht's complaint, writing, "End goal? Baby, we're just getting started," along with a kissy face emoji. Okay, so again, the end goal. So the original claim, if you're looking for the end goal, these are the last days. He's saying, oh, we're just getting started. Just making a joke, this whole thing. Over on Instagram, Grant shared the exchange and challenged followers to prove Fucht wrong. So this is obviously why he's #1 in the charts. You know, he, as most militant LGBT activists do, you know, rallied up the support of his rainbow soldiers to make this happen. And it honestly reminds me of the Satanic Church, you know, how they do that, like how they do that after school Satan program, you know, and the Satanic Temple and a lot of these satanic organizations that are, you know, outright satanic, even in their titles, their strategy is to infiltrate any system that allows for, you know, Christian theology or doctrine or the gospel to be preached, and to use free speech, you know, to use our constitutional rights to pretty much infiltrate, you know, that system and then pervert it in the name of Christ, like a false flag to bring Christianity further into sin. If that makes any sense, what I just said. But let's just read on. Sean Fucht hardly thinks anyone is interested in a worship song by a drag queen, Grant wrote. So this is how he rallied his support. Good Day deserves a spot on Christian music charts, don't you think? And of course, his people made it happen. Within hours, the song and album reached #1 on iTunes Christian and Gospel charts. I don't know what else to say except if you're going to come for a drag queen, you better be ready for how she comes back, Grant wrote on Instagram. She comes back with an army of love. Now let's look at her. Okay. She's coming back right now. This girl right here. This is her tweet. I'm tired. I haven't showered. I smell abominable. I ate I ate cereal for lunch. I might have done that even if it was a normal day. Ain't that cute? 24 hours ago, conservative worship leader Son Fute. I don't know if I'm even saying dude's name right. I know I'm kind of familiar with him, but I wasn't prepared to really even talk about him tonight. Anyways, came for Derek Webb and me and said, good thing no one is interested and listens to you. And so I took a risk and asked y'all to help me to get a 10-month-old worship song, he calls it a worship song, by a drag queen onto the Christian iTunes charts. I told my housemate, Girl of Cardigan, last night before we went to bed, I hope this doesn't flop. That would be pretty embarrassing. Y'all, we did not flop. You effing activated. There's the word for you. So here's our top of the Christian charts guy. You effing activated. As of this moment, Good Day is the #1 song. And Bible Belt Baby is the #1 album. So we're doing good here, CCM. Did I mention that it's 10 months old? Not only am I the first drag artist to chart in Christian music, but I'm the first to hit #1. All due respect to my bestie, Grace Baldridge, for blazing this trail. Now, we're about to be introduced to this Grace Baldridge or whatever her name is as well. Popular Christian artist that's also been topping the Christian charts under the name Semler, openly LGBT. Well, we'll get into that. I don't know what else to say except if you're going to come for a drag queen, you better be ready for how she comes back. She comes with an army of love. Thank you all so much. I'm going to sleep so well tonight, right after I paint my nails and shave my beard. Okay, so and as you see, live concert with full band. So here's just an ad with special guest Semler. So I didn't grab the whole thing here, but Flamey Grant is headlining. Semler is only opening. Now, Semler was the big star recently. I mean, Semler is all over the mainstream charts right now. Semler, this is it right there. I would say her, but I'm not sure how it identifies. Semler touts success of Single Faith as the queer artist charts in the Christian music during Pride Month. So I got to get better at sourcing these materials. I'm getting all these from like mainstream news sites, but obviously I'm just clipping them out and I'm an amateur. Pastors, I think this is also from Relevant Mag, if you guys care. It's from, whatever. Okay, by the way, related, I can't click this link because this is just a slideshow I made, but LGBTQ artist hits #1 on iTunes Christian charts for the second time this year. So there's something else I didn't even grab. Anyways, but I still have faith when you call my name. Never been the same. Semler sings in the song's chorus. This is about her #1 charting song. I still have faith. How you comfort me when they come for me. Call that mercy. When people, criticize or don't, when people call out sin or homosexuality as a sin biblically, that's coming for Semler. But fortunately, God has mercy on her. And she still has faith. In the past few years, Semler has garnered attention from both fans and critics for being as open about her sexuality as she is her faith. She has also vocally advocated for herself to be included in the conversation of mainstream Christian contemporary music. Now, mind you, that is, you're going to see, like, she's like a full-on activist, just militantly barging into. I know CCM is awfully weak as it is, but you're about to see here how she's like, as well as other people, artists who I wouldn't be surprised if they're part of the World Economic Forum's artist initiative that we covered last week or 2 weeks ago, or whenever we last did this. But anyways, I'm ranting. You're going to see how, like, she's on a straight agenda to get inside of the Christian CCM, Christian contemporary music industry and force people into choosing sides. Like, are you for the hate speech of the Bible, or are you ready to affirm the LGBTQ thing? And as you I'm sure suspect, almost everybody affirms it. In 2021, Semler went viral on TikTok after attending a Switchfoot concert at which she attempted to get John Foreman, the band's frontman, to express affirmation towards the LGBTQ plus community. Of course, plus also stands for M for minor attracted person, B for bestiality, and probably I for incest, and who knows how many different categories of sexual perversion you could fit in this thing. It'll eventually eclipse the alphabet itself. Anyways, while Foreman did not hear Semler's shouts from the crowd at the concert, he did see her video and issued a response via a video of his own.
Tim, look. Zach Anderson lives in Wisconsin.
Hey, blessings from Wisconsin. Hey, right back to you, Zach Anderson. Blessings from Wisconsin, because that's where we're at. Menominee Falls, cool. We're in the Kenosha area. What's up? Oh, Steve Stevenson's here. Man, it's got to be past your bedtime. But good to see you, Steve. Hope you're taking it easy on those. Okay, wakey. I'm even suspect of people at church. They'll be the ones turning us in soon. Yeah, a lot of them. So let's watch this. So how Switchfoot responded. But let me just say, like, I'm not a big Switchfoot fan, but I was disappointed by this because, you know, I kind of like some Switchfoot songs. You remember Switchfoot?
Oh yeah, I was into them when I was younger.
John Foreman, their lead singer and songwriter, is objectively a good musician, and they had some real cool songs. And even though I was never a huge fan of that style of music, once I was actually a Christian, I kind of had a little bit of appreciation for John Foreman because I thought that he was one of the actual Christian ones because he had some songs, you know, that seemed to really be biblical. Don't forget when Christian singer Ray Boltz. Yeah, we'll get into that. I know. That was sad for me too. I might even sing you guys my own rendition of "Thank You" tonight. I don't know. Yeah, I know that was messed up. So this is how John Foreman responded.
Always seemed like a really loving and kind band and group of people.
Hey Grace, how you doing? I'm so honored that you came to our show last night. I saw your story, wanted to respond, tell you yes, I support your rights and freedoms. I want you to feel loved and supported. I want you to feel treasured, valued, seen. I want all love and joy and beauty and truth for you. Love and embrace have always been central to our story and our song. We need our differences. I'm so glad that you were there last night. In fact, it breaks my heart to think that you would not be accepted. Let me correct that. You and your journey and your story are welcome at a Switchfoot show. I said something like this last night, and I truly meant it. If you look different than me, if you vote different than me, if you believe differently than me, if you love different than me, you are beloved. You are my sister. You are my brother.
You are my sister. You are my brother.
I need you.
Because he doesn't know what to call her either. Because, I mean, I don't know if that's what he's referring to, but Semler is also, I believe, fluid in gender identity.
Like you need me, like I need you, like you need me. Our music has always been for anyone who's open-minded enough to jump into the dialogue. Agnostic, atheist, consumerist, Jewish, Muslim, doubters, believers, haters, lovers, LGBTQ plus.
LGBTQ plus. And this angle on this guy's face, like, I'm not just trying to be mean, but this is like, if this was included in like as in a found footage horror movie, you put some like deep bass behind this, it would truly be creepy. Comes off as creepy.
And everyone else who's brave enough to look for meaning and truly jump into that. No one else is an expert on someone else's experience, and I can't pretend to know your pain. I can only know my own. I know what it's like to feel like you don't fit in.
Nobody's asking this Semler, whatever her name is, Grace Baldridge, to affirm their sins and the temptations that they know are against what the Bible says to do, you know. But all right, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop talking.
Even the song "Where I Belong" is referencing a longing for a belonging that I've never felt here on the planet. And I don't know your pain, but I know what it's like to wrestle with depression and anxiety. I know what it's like to feel voiceless in a hypocritical culture that feels deeply flawed. I know what that feels like. And I'm sure you've received all sorts of pain and hardship along the way. I'm so sorry. May these wounds heal. May you transcend them. That these wounds would not define you, but that you would define them. May you find peace and truth and
generic Hallmark card.
Yeah, don't let your wounds define you, but you define them. That is the motto. That is the way that things are now. You define your wounds and identify by your wounds. Whatever it is that like is your weakness or like your pain, you know, like is now what you're supposed to carry as a banner over your head. And this isn't related to even what he's saying, but just the way he worded that stupid, you know, I don't even think he knows what he's saying. But it just kind of reminds me of culture these days or kids these days, or the new society these days, where it's like every new mental illness that you have is
Everybody
like a badge
has
of honor.
Something. And
right. And you transcend.
Yeah.
Never repent.
I work with like a lot of young kids like in the restaurant industry. And it's like the amount of times I hear that somebody has anxiety is ridiculous. And you know, not to take away from, people do struggle with that, like don't get me wrong, but it's like I don't know, I just really question like how much of it is true. Like everybody has,
well, they think they do.
something.
It's like that. Yeah, that's a whole nother big old conspiracy. That's another
their
documentary in
issues
itself.
are a lot more than being anxious about things. I can promise you that.
Well, like what the Bible could clearly define as sin, you know, like I can't, I mean, I used to take care of people with all types of mental handicaps, as you know, and so I'm aware that there is a such thing as, you know, not everybody's brain's the same. There is a such thing as different mental illnesses and stuff. But what's happened is that the consequence of sin in a society that doesn't recognize sin and that believes themselves to be, you know, material, descendants of apes that only live once and then disappear into dust in the ground. So when you don't have any concept of spirituality, then you can't have a concept of righteousness and sin, right? And so the consequences of sin, guilt, you know, like, so anxiety, for example, is something that I struggle with. And I believe, so here's the mental illness part. I think looking back on my life, my parents would tell you that even back when I was a little boy, I was just like a nervous, shy, anxious boy. You know, my dad used to call me Never Nervous Purvis for some reason I'm not sure of. I think there was an athlete named Purvis or something, and that was his nickname. Funny. Just because I was always nervous. I can tell you that as a 38-year-old man, though, anything that I would regard as like anxiety, you know, because I could go probably get on anxiety medication and pretend that my state of anxiety is just something I'm a victim of, that I have no control over, and that needs to be medicated because, you know, it's not my fault. Well, the reality is, though, even though I have a bent towards anxiety, the truth is, biblically speaking, like I need to be relying on God, and I need to not be worrying so much. It really is a sin. Even if I do tend towards it, it doesn't take away the fact that my anxiety, you know what the source of my anxiety usually is? It's a sense of foreboding, because there's something that I know I should be taking care of or have taken care of that I've, you know, like I'm not being responsible. Like it's something that I get this anxiety, like it's based around a lot of scheduling stuff because I'm procrastinating on things. That's just me. That's just one example out of many, many sins. And I'm already going too far in a rabbit trail, because this is stuff that we're going to be addressing in the text that I got coming up anyways. It's just that, you know, this idea that, you know, like we got this guy from Switchfoot trying to affirm the pain that this Semler character has had as someone that's she's from a Christian family, if you read into her lyrics and her backstory, which I didn't include in this, you know, and that's her kind of angle, you know. She's in CCM now. She's from a Christian home, but she was always gay, but she still loves Jesus and she still believes what she was taught. But surely the Jesus, you know, the Jesus of love in the Bible wouldn't, you know, hate her just because she was born this way. Of course, the Bible tells us that we're all born into sin. And so I bring up the anxiety thing just because the truth is everybody has a different sin that they're tempted by. Like when it comes to the gay stuff, I'm not tempted by it. So do I believe you can be born gay? Heck yeah. I almost think you'd have to, because I cannot envision a scenario in which I would ever even be attracted to a man or tempted by touching a man. I'm grossed out.
I don't know, but like I feel like it's a lot of grooming though too. Like the indoctrination is like so real, and it's like, you know, kids before they should even be thinking about their sexuality or anything like that, they're confused, and you know, there's
it's put onto them,
like no, and there's like all these crazy things where like kids are literally transitioning, or you know, the puberty blockers, and then they, you know,
and they're
grow up and regret it. They're like, I'm not trans, I was just confused. And that like that is by
how
design.
Messed up of course it's by design. Then you got these schools that are literally targeting,
and then it's like
that insecurity and that natural,
it's like they never went through puberty. It's just it's crazy. So like no, I just had to cut you off because like,
no, you're right. Yeah, it can be put onto you. So yeah, and I agree. No, I don't think. Let me correct what I said. Amber's absolutely right.
No, and I know that you.
What I meant by what I said, like being born, I just mean like even to have that inclination. So for me personally, when it comes to the gay thing, right, I won't be tempted to do a gay thing. That's not my sin. That's not the forbidden fruit in my life that I'm tempted by. I don't like pie. I don't like cake, and I don't like pie, and I don't like pastries. Now, for a lot of people, you know, it's a lot more minor of a sin, but whatever. The sin is sin, you know. For a lot of people, they are tempted by a pie or a cake. That's delicious to them. They're going to get fat if they eat too much, but they wish they could eat more. I don't even like pie. I'm not. You could put 10 pies in front of my face if I'm hungry, and I won't even be appetized by it because I don't like it. And that's the way I feel with the gay thing. So if you're somebody that you put a bunch of naked guys in front of you and you're tempted by that, I can't relate. But what I can relate to is being tempted by other things, right? My sins are different. And what I have to do is I have to resist the temptations that I'm tempted by if I know that they're wrong and sinful, especially if I call myself a Christian, right? Like this Semler does, and like more of these artists do that we're going to be getting into, and like the Switchfoot guy does. You know, if you're going to be calling yourself a Christian, then at least you have to acknowledge that it's a sin. The truth is, there's probably, I know for sure that there's Christian men out there who are tempted in the gay way, who have, you know, their struggles are based in like the homosexuality thing. It's something I can't personally relate to, that I believe are you know, a lot of them have a better testimony than I do, probably. But the bottom line, in order to do that, like as long as they're regarding it as a sin, again, I'm not tempted by it. Like for me, it's smoking and drinking, you know, and it's one thing for me to smoke and drink and know that this is not what Jesus would do, and it's not good. But what's the difference between me doing that as a Christian that knows that I'm broken, which is the only reason that I would ever call myself a Christian in the first place, because I'm relying on Christ to literally be the substitution for my wayward, broken ways. You know, it's not a license to sin. I'm just saying the contrast of that to do what Semler would do would be me to go get a bunch of other smoker and drinkers together and say, hey, let's put on a parade and say, you know, like Jesus would smoke too. Yeah, Jesus would drink too. You know, like, so I'm going way off the trail here, but.
Your journey, keep writing songs, keep creating beauty, keep reaching out, keep being honest, keep chasing beauty and truth and light and love. Keep choosing to see the good in people, even the folks who might be different than you. With all love and respect, I hope to see you around sometime.
Well, some of them, but not all of them.
Oh, no, I don't want to do that now. Wakey, no big deal here. Just thought Amber just pointed out how like all of your comments are showing up here on my stream, but not on her phone. So
I've already commented that.
Oh, you did? Yeah. So it's good to know that it's not only us truther channels that are being messed with by the algorithm. Yeah, even my viewers are being messed with.
I also like that in the background, the paintings from St. Patty's Day are still up.
Yeah, we talked about that last time.
It's
no, right. Yeah, they're still up. Well, they'll be up on the next stream as well.
I need to take them down.
So that's similar. Show the stupid video. That's what I did. Okay, let me read through some of this to show you guys how much deeper it's gotten. Queer Christian artists keep the faith. How LGBTQ plus musicians are redefining praise music. Redefining it. Okay. Pay attention here. This, by the way, is taken from the Grammys website, from Grammys, you know, like the award ceremony, the ridiculous, stupid award ceremony. Song has long been part of many Christian traditions, but the religion has historically not been as welcoming to Christian LGBTQ artists today. Artists. Today, a new generation is forging a more accepting church by refusing to compromise either part of their identity. Now, if you're a Christian, just that very statement itself is just so blasphemous. How can you not? So if you're a true Christian, talking about not willing to compromise either part of your identity, when biblically speaking, your identity is now in Christ, right? Because you're washed in the blood, you know. And this is where it's going to start going downhill really quick for all the theology that is infiltrating Christian music today, and by extension, the Christian entertainment industry, you know, movies and all that included. In 2021, queer musician Grace Baldridge, who performs as Semler, rocked Christian music on her debut release, Preacher's Kid. The EP centered on Baldridge's experiences growing up in the Episcopal Church, so that explains a lot, a religion that often didn't accept her identity, and the ways in which she wrestled with religion. And these days, I believe in Bigfoot more than God, because who's he hurting? Semler questions on the track Jesus from Texas. So this is her big hit. This Christian artist, this is her lyrics apparently. These days, I believe in Bigfoot more than God. This is one of the number one Christian artists. She believes in Bigfoot more than God because who's Bigfoot hurting? That's on Jesus from Texas. All right, moving on here. Tamagotchi's going off. One of the girls' Tamagotchis. In 2021, queer musician Grace Baldridge, who performs this, I already read that. The album topped the iTunes Christian music chart. Now remember, this all started out with that Flamey Grant. The drag queen song is now topping iTunes Christian music chart. Well, earlier, you know, I think this was from 2022. When was this? Yeah, in June 2022, a year ago. It was Semler who was number one on the Christian chart with Jesus from Texas. In a genre that has doubled down on commercial hits that praise an unwavering dedication to Christianity, Preacher's Kid was revolutionary for expressing a more nuanced connection with God, and was made even more so by Baldridge's genderqueer identity. While the Christian music industry has embraced modern musical stylings like indie rock, metal, and rap, lyrical content has been slower to encompass a broader diversity of voices. For a genre that's meant to harness artistic expression, there are a lot of boundaries. And I think it's very strange, especially when thematically we're looking at all of creation and divinity, says Baldridge, adding artists like myself and others, we're presenting a challenge and a question to Christian music, which is, what do you want to be known for? Well, I would imagine that Christian music wants to be known for Christ, right? If it's truly Christian music, right? But look at what she's saying here, that, excuse me. She's saying that for a genre that's meant to harness artistic expression, okay, so I guess her style of music, and there's a lot of boundaries, I think it's very strange, especially when thematically we're looking at all of creation. So she's talking about, supposedly in her perspective, in Christian music, since we're talking about God here and we're talking about creation and we're talking about, you know, the sovereign, you know, universe, all of creation, that she says it's strange that, I'm sorry. She's saying that artists like herself, you know, all these LGBT affirming CCM, you know, artists are presenting a challenge and a question to Christian music, right? So forget what the Bible says, because let's just get spiritual about it, right? And let's challenge. How can you be a Christian artist challenging the foundation of Christianity? That's a fair question, right? I'm kind of ranting, you guys, like I tend to do, but it goes on. I'm just going to read instead of talk. In the past, LGBTQ plus artists were forced out of the genre after coming out, but a new generation of queer Christian musicians is refusing to compromise either part of their identity. They're using art not only express their faith, but also to forge a more accepting Christian church, or a less a biblical Christian church, or not even a Christian church, because you cannot deny and just cross out clearly biblical teachings and continue to call yourself a Christian. And of course, now NPR, Semler is getting more mainstream success, obviously, than any traditional Christian artist that calls themselves a Christian and puts out songs that are actually Christian, right? And it's funny because we'll go on, but like someone else mentioned Ray Boltz. There was a band called Everyday Sunday. There's a girl called Jennifer Knapp that I remember from growing up listening to CCM. All these people coming out in the spectrum of LGBTQ plus whatever. And they're becoming huge stars because of it, right? And so, of course, this plays into the whole narrative. Christianity is being what the beginning of this whole thing say? I'm not going to go back. Redefined, redefined by the LGBTQ militia. By the late 1970s, CCM had become a business, with radio stations, publications, and the Gospel Music Association's Dove Awards highlighting industry achievements. But Stevens Pino's success with CCM came to a halt when she came out as a lesbian in 1981. Now, mind you, I don't know who this is, but her story is interesting, and there's something real crazy here. After a long period of grappling with her identity, she was shunned by the industry. Her songs were torn out of hymn books, and yet she received hate mail. She joined the queer-affirming Metropolitan Community Church in 1984 and wrote and toured with them and other churches for the next 20 years. Looking back, Stevens Pino most regrets not being more open in her self-searching, though she realized that there was no one she could have turned to. She never stopped writing music, including songs like Can't We Find a Way, which is aimed at helping her parents come to terms with her sexuality. Now, mind you, again, this is apparently like a pioneer gospel Christian musician artist back in the 80s. During the height of HIV and AIDS, almost every song Stevens Pino, if I'm saying that right, wrote had a connection to the epidemic. She recorded her first post-coming out album with money of a friend who died of AIDS. With money that a friend who died of AIDS had left her. For his memorial, she wrote the song Falling Star. It kind of reminds me of the Morning Star. Kind of reminds me of the Fallen Angels star. The chorus goes, "Our farewell for a moment knows the promise true. When Jesus comes in glory, he will come with you." She also found herself helping other Christian musicians coming to terms with their sexuality, including singer and songwriter Ray Boltz, who came out in 2008 after a decades-long career. Dude, my parents loved Ray Boltz. And I mentioned before that song, you ever hear, I dreamed I went to heaven. You were there with me. I'm not going to sing the whole song. Ray Boltz, the song Thank You, he had a couple songs that are just beautiful songs. And he was like up there with Rich Mullins and Keith Green back in those days. I know. I do love Rich Mullins. Yeah, and then like all these years later, suddenly he popped back up in the headlines, which I never really saw him before when he was just a Christian artist, but now it's because he came out as gay and he left his family and he left his wife and his kids and he got married to his producer or something like that. Then he was on the Oprah Winfrey show, and again, you never see these guys coming out on the Oprah show. You might see Katy Perry a lot on the Oprah show, but did you know that before Katy Perry was Katy Perry and before she came out with her big hit, I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It, her name was Katie Hudson, I believe, and she was also a CCM Christian music artist. I remember seeing her CD at the Christian bookstore where I bought Switchfoot and all these other guys. And that's a whole nother thing, right? They got a way of doing that. For these Christian families that allow their kids, like my parents did, and probably like I will too, to an extent, you got to teach your kids discernment because you never know what tricks, the devil has up his sleeves. But it's just that there is definitely a agenda that's been well demonstrated of having these Christian artists that, so I mentioned Katy Perry as Kate Hudson. Another one was Reliant K, like Christian punk band. Like their first album was like straight up youth group music. Now they're just a secular band. Now actually they're on tour with guess who? Semler. Yeah, Reliant K is on tour with Semler. And actually, this lead singer of Reliant K was dating Katy Perry. It's this whole thing. Don't ask me why I know about all this. And I'm just going on and on. But the point is, like, you know, we know they do it with the secular kids, right? We know that they take Hannah Montana and turn her into a slutty Miley Cyrus. And they do the same with Amanda Bynes and Britney Spears. And they, you know, who was on the Mouseketeers or the Justin Timberlake and all that. And there's a well-established process of getting kids to idolize these child celebrities so that as these child celebrities grow up, particularly girls, you can objectify them and sexualize them. And what happens when, you know, millions of girls who were huge fans of Miley Cyrus, you know, a few years later into their teenage years, see her dressed up in a thong dancing around on the stage? Well, they're more open to that kind of thing, right? So it's a desensitization, and they do the same in the Christian industry. But again, I'm just kind of ranting. I need to get to our first break here, so hold on. Some of the artists that she spoke with either went back into the closet or never ended up coming out. So we're talking about that Pinot girl, Pinot, whatever. Fearing the same sort of industry retaliation that Stevens Pinot faced. After moving to Nashville, she learned, now check this out. After moving to Nashville, she learned that the night before the Dove Awards, now the Dove Awards is like the Grammys for these stupid Christian artists. The night before the Dove Awards, she learns there's a secret event for queer nominees called the Pink Party. This is all the way back in the 80s. For queer Christian music nominees called the Pink Party. It's an invite only. It's invite only, and phones and cameras are not allowed into the Pink Party. CCM became such a big business that you can't even be yourself when you're winning an award. It seemed like it turned such a far right corner. That's a quote. But Stevens Pinot never compromised her identity. She formed Born Again Lesbian Music, BALM Ministries, Balm Ministries, like the balm of Gilead, for queer communities, and married her wife in 2003. Together, they ran a music ministry, they're calling it a ministry, training school for LGBTQ plus Christians. So isn't that interesting? Because if you want to go against what the Bible says, then you need to create a separate entity for LGBTQ plus Christians. Another way of saying Christians that don't accept everything the Bible actually says, which is another way to say not real Christians. It's not to say you can't be gay and be a Christian. It's to say that you cannot pull Jesus down with you and try to act like God affirms something that you know is sin. I'll use my own sin as an example, like I already did before, you know, because I'm a sinner. I'm a sinner saved by grace, but, you know, God forbid all my sins were ever just exposed to all you guys. There's a bunch of them, just like you guys all deal with, everyone that's saved. But God forbid that we turn around and start affirming this stuff and trying to get, you know, encourage each other to embrace it, right? Anyways, in the late 1990s, a more rocking image emerged with a new generation of artists. Jennifer Knapp, mentioned her earlier. I remember her back when she was a Christian and I was a kid. Who also turned to Christianity as a teenager, made a splash on the CCM scene with her singles Undo Me and the Grammy-nominated A Little More. But in 2004, she announced that she was taking a hiatus. Knapp released her first non-Christian album, Letting Go, great title, right, in 2010, and came out as a lesbian in the media. And suddenly the media wanted to cover that, right? Now that she's a lesbian, now she's on TV. Nowadays, she describes herself as in Career 2.0, a mainstream singer-songwriter, touring, recording, and advocating for LGBTQ plus issues. That's her new ministry, right? The LGBT thing. They watched me navigate being a gay person and code shift in the middle of a religion that doesn't necessarily give a lot of people an opportunity to challenge it back and still respect it. All these Christian, so-called Christian artists that are gay or that are trying to promote and advocate for homosexuality that keep referring to it as challenging the system. Well, the system is based on the Bible. You think I came up with any of this stuff? You think Christians like would prefer to, you know, resist all the temptations of their flesh? No. And every Christian out there, you know, just because we might not be struggling with gay temptations or whatever you want to call it, trust me, we're all trying to avoid sinning and we all want to do it. This last, I think we're coming up on, shoot. You know what? I need to take a drink real quick, just because that's where it's at. Watch this quick little ad, and I'll be right back.
And now a word. I will never forget the first time I watched Tales from the Fallen World with Tim and Amber. It was, for me, a life-changing experience. Now, I'm not easily persuaded by all that hocus-pocus, mambo-jumbo, sensational headlines, and conspiracy theory. I am simply a man who calls it like I see it. But as a world-class celebrity, I have unfortunately seen more than I care to admit. Human clones. The Illuminati. The Mark of the Beast. I'm sorry to inform you that these things exist. Now, I don't regard myself to be wise, but it seems to me that when all of humanity stands in the face of an evil force, we would do well to support the efforts of the brave individuals who stand against it. This is why I support the good work being done at Fallen World Films. So please subscribe, like, and share these videos. Let's help this fine young couple to spread their message. Because if we don't turn this thing around soon, our children will inherit less freedoms than at the Shawshank State Prison. Take it from me, a guy who sounds like Morgan Freeman.
Elliot, go to Dad's other side.
Well, everybody, thanks for still being here. Amber tells me that the kids, before going to bed, really wanted to say hi. And so go ahead, guys. Say, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't be shy. You see, look at dude, they're freaking out. You scared?
No.
Where's Levi?
He's knocked out.
Okay. Well, say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Eden, it's okay. Go ahead. Say hi and bye.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Eden, you literally asked to say hi.
Yeah, this was their idea, but thank you guys.
Okay, move.
All right, so
Willow can say hi.
All right, hurry up. Go ahead, Willow.
Hurry up, you guys. It's super late, you guys.
So tell them to like and subscribe. No one ever does that.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you, Willow. What do you guys think? Spitting image of her mom, right? That's Amber Jr. Hey, Jay. All right.
All right, come on, guys.
We got to finish up on this CCM thing because we still got 2 more topics, you guys. So I'm going to try to bust through it here. I don't know what just happened. All right. Did somebody just fall down behind us? You guys, I'm sorry. But this is just how it is here at the old home base. Anyways, a new sound, but the same Christian values. Let's see about that. In the late 90s, we already read that. Nap release, we already read that. While her new music isn't religious, she says a keen listener could track her theology through her albums. So now that's what I call a good testimony from a Christian, right? Well, my music, it's not religious. And don't get me wrong, I'm not religious either, but still. But a keen listener could track my theology through the album. So if you're willing to get into private detective mode, you might be able to pick up a little bit of her theology, not the gospel truth, but her theology. Anyways, with an exploration of love being a central theme on her last record, or Lust, right? Love comes back around. She says her fans are now about 1/3 long-term listeners, a third who've discovered her through secular music, and a third who are interested in her work as an advocate, which I got to imagine means comrade, right? But while their worship practice more resembles a rock or rap concert than a Sunday service, okay, I skipped ahead here. There was just this whole thing about how now there's a bunch of emerging churches, and they mentioned like Mike Todd, and they mentioned, I think, Saddleback, and all these, just all these big, Bethel, Hillsong, these big churches that have like big music productions and entire record labels. But it was boring, and I didn't put the whole paragraph in there. But this is a continuation from that. It says, while their worship practice more resembles a rock or rap concert than a Sunday service, many megachurches promote the same traditional values around sexual identity, gender roles, and reproductive health care as the larger evangelical movement. These megachurches, along with all important radio stations, Christian radio stations like K-Love, continue to gatekeep CCM. Gatekeep it. So it's supposedly Christian contemporary music, but for them to not allow something that the Bible and all of Christianity, like the Bible clearly regards as sinful. Like, so for Christians to say, no, we will not affirm this sin, that's now called gatekeeping. According, by the way, this is still from the Grammys website. Right? Okay. This is despite myriad controversies, including Hillsong's founder resigning after an internal investigation into accusations of inappropriate behavior towards women. Okay, well, trust me, he's not a good representation of the church in the first place. Anyways, in some ways, it was this hypocrisy that grew Grace Baldridge to start writing her own Christian music. Baldridge hosted a Refinery 29 series on faith called State of Grace. So she hosted a series on faith, including an episode on the dark reality of the CCM industry. Now, I would call her inclusion in the CCM industry the dark reality of it, but, I'm sure hers is about how she wasn't accepted by these Christians that were saying that homosexuality is a sin. That is dark, it's what the Bible says. The child of an Episcopal priest, she grew up listening to Christian punk and metal bands like Reliant K, Under Oath, and Demon Hunter. I liked all those bands, as well as songs from Michael Jackson, Prince, and Duran Duran that her brother illegally downloaded. Her entry into CCM started as sort of a joke when she shared the first verse of a song called Youth Group on TikTok, which I didn't include because it's vulgar. From the enthusiastic response, she realized that there were many others who were questioning institutionalized religion. That's the motivation of this Christian artist that's trending as #1. While many of her lyrics are tongue-in-cheek, like this, for example, a loser in a button-up can't send you to hell, they're often connected to real trauma. Baldridge explains that singing about something takes a bite out of it. Unlike much holier than thou Christian worship music, she's interested in exploring the ways her faith isn't perfect. Well, your faith should be perfect. Your behavior can't be perfect. Your performance will be far from perfect. But your faith definitely should be, because Jesus is perfect. And that's who your faith should be in if you're calling yourself a Christian. Her latest project is Stages of a Breakdown, a mixtape to a born-again friend. Now, this is interesting. Stages of a Breakdown. This is like a concept album that she made where she's writing about how this Christian, so-called Christian friend of hers that wouldn't affirm her sin, how she, eventually they couldn't be friends anymore because her Christian friend just insisted on doing what the Bible says and not affirming her and her sin. Of course, that's not the way that she writes it, though. Here we go. She wrote a mixtape to a born-again friend as their relationship was falling apart. She wrote most of the EP in just 48 hours, and each track represents a different stage in the breakdown, with Baldridge exploring new genres like indie dance pop. She even wrote a song from the friend's perspective, embodying a certain Christian who says they love everyone, but doesn't accept queer identity. What does it mean to accept? Like, dude, I don't know. I mean,
what? They all want affirmation. It's not enough that, like, I don't care. I will sit here, live your life. That's your right to do that.
Right.
But what do you want? A cookie?
And I don't know any, as a Christian guy that goes to church that has plenty of Christian friends, like I don't know of any Christians that are trying to stop people from doing gay things if that's what they want to do. I'm not here saying that I'm even better than you. I think I've gone on that about 4 different times here. I'm a sinner too. But to affirm it though, now this is not new news, right? But it's just kind of sad to see that this is now overtaking the CCM industry, especially for a musician like myself. You know, I am a Christian artist. You know, I haven't written a song in a long time, but I'm gonna spare you my rant that I want to go on right here. Let's finish this topic up. In fact, I'm gonna skip through this. Well, I can't. Christian who says they love everyone but doesn't accept queer identity, right? That she even wrote a song from her friend's perspective that said that. She says this lightly veiled homophobia is just as insidious as open hostility. If she says that, if she's referring to biblical commands and teachings directly from Christ as homophobia and insidious, then not that I was questioning, you know, whether or not she's a real Christian in the first place, but shouldn't that seal the deal? Well, no, because the #1 charting artist again right now is Flamey Grant, who's dropping F-bombs as she celebrates, or he, I mean to say, being at the top of the Christian chart. So that's where we're at. Anyways, this also relates to CCM. She sees how the industry has changed comparing to the era of Knapp or Trey Pearson, the founder of Christian rock band Everyday Sunday, another band I remember, who came out in 2016 and also finally got famous once he was gay, with artists no longer being openly ostracized. Instead, she described it as more of a don't ask, don't tell, where queer artists just disappear. Again, in the Christian industry, though, developing your career both in and outside CCM is important to Baldridge, who also wants to promote a more inclusive and justice-oriented understanding of Christianity. She sees her work as part of larger progressive changes within Christian music, or within society, like the incoming Antichrist society, like getting rid of Christ out of Christian music is really what that should say. But no, she sees it as part of a larger progressive, like how far do you want to progress Christianity until it's even keel with the Antichrist society that surrounds it? Black Christian musicians, most notably the rapper Lecrae, don't pull Lecrae into this, right?
Right.
Well, have increasingly used their music to talk about racism and advocate for Black Lives Matter. Well, Black lives do matter. But Lecrae has also faced pushback for politicizing his art. Baldridge struggles with understanding why there's a genre of music that is informed by faith and how we dignify the humanity of others that has been typically pretty vague on how specifically they want to engage with that. Well, if you don't want to, okay, there's a genre of music that is informed by faith of how we dignify the humanity of others. If you want to be a Christian artist, and if you're a Christian, then you cannot dignify sin. There's no dignity in it. Still, she sees a shift occurring where people are seeking more thoughtful Christian music, right? Biblical Christian music is not thoughtful. It's insensitive.
Right.
It's straight up. She's a Satan worshiper, if you ask me. I think if someone is wanting to listen to music about faith, then probably they have an immense curiosity and intelligence for what's out there in the mystery and divine in creation. I wouldn't say so. I'd say if someone wants to listen to Christian music, that they are Christians who don't have a mystery of the divine because they have faith in God of the Bible, right? It would be one thing if she was categorized as a spiritual artist. That'd be okay. You know, she's spiritual. But you can't just like be like, oh, you know, here she is as a Christian artist being like, oh, well, it's Christianity. It's a spirituality. It's a spiritual thing, you know. And I think if people are into spirituality, then we should expand our horizons. Right?
It's like, no.
It's like, no, then join a different club.
Like, where
like
do you
we know
draw
what we believe here.
the line?
Right. It's just, hey, look we got Vision Eye View. Didn't even notice. Oh, MoTBR. Look at all these people popped up. Thanks to you being here. Hey, thank you everybody for being here. MoTBR, God bless you. Vision, great to see you, buddy. Awesome. I'm not going to read through these right now because I'm already taking too long going through this, but thanks for being here. Want to make sure I got Man, it's longer than I thought. Here, let's just keep going though. Jay Mercado, who performs as IIWAA, let's just call him Iwaya. Let's call him Iwaya. Let's call him Iwaya. Also grew up while faith and politics all started to merge in our country. Iwaya is Pipash. I don't know how to say any three of the first three words in this whole sentence. Okay. Set myself up for failure here, so we'll just skip it. We'll just go to here. From a young age, he participated in his Pentecostal church choir and rose to become a national worship leader. He always dreamed about using music to help people connect to their spirituality. But at the end of 2019, he began to understand his queerness and left the church that he had been involved with for almost 20 years. I was heartbroken at first because my view of God had been so small. My view of God had been one where I believed that I would be outside of that kind of love and that acceptance that the faith affords you as a believer because of my queerness. That'd be like me saying like, oh, I can't relate to a God that would forgive me for my sins because I sin. Makes no sense unless what I'm actually saying is I want God to forgive me for my sins, but continue to sin. But after being confined at home during the pandemic, right? The plandemic, a lot of that pops up in this. Iwaya, as I call him, which is not how you would actually say that, but I guess I'm mocking him, emerged from the place of grief. And also the freedom of no longer being under the public eye. The name, the guy, is derived from the word for heart and represents his desire to put his whole self into what he's creating. He used his COVID-19 stimulus check to record his debut EP, Dysphoria, interesting name, fitting, I suppose, and realized that he should still use music to share my experience, to connect with others, and to help them connect with their spirituality. Again, that's great if you want to join the ranks of Enya and Enigma and all these spiritual, Yanni and all that. But you just can't call yourself a Christian and then come out there and say, I'm still searching for the truth in my spirituality. No, we have the truth in our spirituality, and we don't need to be challenged by your questions about your own. And these definitely shouldn't be number one, like trying to confuse everybody or whatever. He considers a track like Boys Don't Cry, his big hit, to be a worship song. Okay. Listen to this. I describe this song, Boys Don't Cry. You tell me if it meets your criteria for a worship song. Worship, of course, meaning when we worship God Almighty, the perfect, ultimate, sovereign creator who created us, who is worthy of worship, right? But he says this huge Christian artist, right? This guy's a big Christian artist. He's probably playing at churches. He's probably praying with people. I mean, he is a Christian mentor. And this is his worship song. Over a stripped back melody, he sings, they say boys don't cry. Guess I'm not a boy, am I? Because he cries, right? Well, I cry. Men cry. The Bible, Jesus wept. What about that? Anyways, similar to much contemporary Christian music, he wanted to build on a repeated refrain, allowing the listener to meditate on its meaning. Because it's so profound, as if The Cure didn't have the Boys Don't Cry song back in the 80s,
Right.
which is like been a hit for 30 years. People close to me who aren't queer identifying
40
or who have 40 years or who are part of the LGBTQ plus community came to me and said, okay, so he's saying even straight men, cis men are coming to him and saying, this song is really healing for my masculinity, which was a bit toxic before this. Men say that it helps them realize all the ways that society says that they don't measure up.
Dude, even NF is more deep than this.
Right, NF is deeper than this guy. Son of a gun. I got to be close. Where am I at? Look at all this. That's where I'm going. And I didn't even download that. I might do an early commercial break. Yeah, but no, I got to read this. Look, there's too much. I'm going to read this, then I'm taking another commercial break. We might just have to just cover this topic. I don't know. Anyways, last year, the guy also participated in Serenade, a multi-genre collection of songs by queer musicians and allies of many faiths. Okay, so now you got these big-time Christian artists that are collaborating with who they call allies of different religions, of many faiths, released during Pride Month, right? The sin of pride, right? Since we have a month that celebrates that sin, well, then why shouldn't Christians take advantage of that to celebrate their own pride along with all these other religions? Through living in Flagstaff, Arizona, Mercado was connected with the band Towers. I believe these guys are Oh, I'm not going to get into it because I'm not sure. Known for Christian-related music. With couple Kyle and Greta Miller at the band's core. Towers wanted to be an ally in an industry not often accepting of LGBTQ plus rights. So when Kyle Miller was contracted by the organization Beloved Arise, which is dedicated to celebrating and empowering LGBTQ plus youth of faith. Okay, so kids, so for Christian gay kids and their organization Beloved Arise, right? Arise. Isn't that, it's almost like take, like protest. Like gay kid, come on. I don't need to say this. You guys understand. The musician and producer immediately said yes. Miller and his wife pulled from within and outside their artistic community to garner a diverse roster of participating musicians. Many took inspiration from letters written by queer youth of faith. Towers wanted to contribute a song that encompassed the album's many themes. Miller was inspired by a poem by Hafiz, I guess, about God being in drag. Isn't that nice? Now that's I don't know about his other worship song, but this I could see being a worship song, and an experience of stumbling upon a drag show. Beautiful. There were people cheering for their friends and people being exactly who they wanted to be, just like the Bible says to do.
Right.
Just be what you do, what you want to do.
That's crazy to me. It's like,
well, it felt like what I wished church was. So there you go. The result was Love Who You Love, a rousing number that Miller sings in tandem with his wife.
right, do just whatever makes you happy and feel good.
Well, it's what the Bible teaches us. We're not supposed to resist temptations. We're not supposed to flee from our sins. We're not supposed, obviously we are supposed to do these things, but no, this is the new Christianity. And don't forget, what are we doing here? Look at the title, Writing the New Worship Music Canon. So this is the new canon. This is going to be the new standard, the new foundation for Christian content moving forward. Well, these collective efforts, often between queer Christians and allies, are also expanding. The Many, this is the group's name, is a Chicago-based worship group whose music encompasses folk, pop, indie, gospel, and other genres, with original lyrics by Leonard Rand and music from her husband Gary and daughter Hannah. So it's a family thing, it's like the Partridge Family. They have performed at liturgies, conventions, and other events. So that's nice. Lenora, Rand grew up singing about the blood of the Lamb and wanted to develop, check this out, an alternative, less depressive church tradition, because the blood of the Lamb is depressing. The blood of the Lamb, like, that's the joy of the actual Christian's life. That's your forgiveness.
They're wanting to like pick and choose like what the word says or change it all together.
They want to change it all together. I think they're literally, like I mentioned, like
what new version are they gonna come out with next?
Yeah, well, this is literally just an infiltration, and like these aren't just confused Christians. I think these are actual Satan worshiping change agents, not much different than Lucian Greaves. One connecting thread are simple refrains that stick with you. Like, okay, so what he's really saying there, as a musician, I can tell you, is one connecting thread are simple, repetitious things that get stuck in your head. Like, you gave us these bodies and call them good, from the song These Bodies. Okay, if only the Bible ended it there. Yeah, God did call us good after he made us. Is it true to say you gave us these bodies and called them good? Did you know that there is none good, no, not one, that we all fall, like our flesh? The Bible says that the mind of a man is nothing but evil continually. It says to lean not on your own understanding, that the heart is desperately wicked, right? I can go on and on. It's not that. During lockdown, they released lyric videos and performed at online events where the chat was filled with comments about what people were going through. Lenora Rand says connecting so personally with audiences is the outcome of their collective creative process, getting together and discussing issues that they care about. We often say that we write the songs that we need to hear. On All Belong Here, the many distinguishes between welcoming, when someone brings you into their space, and belonging, owning the space because you're supposed to be there. Affirmation, right? Explains Darren Calhoun, I guess, who sings in the Many and also leads worship at the Urban Village Church. So he's also the worship leader at a church. Calhoun, check this out. He's a survivor of conversion therapy. They tried to kill him there. but he did survive. And says that he's proud to be at the forefront of transitions happening in the church. The unchanging word of God, his church that was founded by Jesus and, you know, built on the rock, Peter, you know, given the keys to the church, the God that never changes. Well, this guy, he's proud to be at the forefront of the transitions that are happening in the church, because the transformation doesn't only apply to the digital World Economic Forum transformation we discussed last time, but no, it's happening right here in the Christian world as well, so-called. Kristen Sparks, a United Methodist clergy candidate and a seminary student, recently joined the many. Sinks grew up in a church affirming queer identities and felt no conflict when she fell in love with a woman. Through music, we continue to build this world that we say we believe in as a Christian, she says. I think the church can only ever be as good as the best theology. And we have the best vision. Check this out. And that we have, and the best theology that we have and the best vision that we have for the world. Okay, the church can only be as good as the best vision that you have for the world. How about the vision that God lays out for the world within the Bible, the founding document by which Christianity revolves around? Do you see this? Do you see how backwards and nonsensical this is? How it is, like, you know, I showed an article earlier from Relevant Magazine, but like this has been going on now for like over a decade, right? This infiltration of the LGBT stuff and all this like straight up sinful, satanic, you know, stuff that's getting into the, like these artists in the CCM industry, right, that are putting out lyrics and putting out interviews, like actually even saying these things. How are their feet not being held to the fire by the larger church? I don't know, because I feel like a non-Christian would be able to read this and at least be able to appreciate, or maybe not appreciate, but acknowledge and see how unbiblical it all is. But no, this is not only is this crazy stuff going on, but this stuff is getting published in so-called Christian publications, you know, and these songs are number one because a large portion of these downloads are coming from people that subscribe to Christian channels, right? It only makes sense. This work is personal for co-founder Gabriel Mudd, who went through conversion therapy as an adult so he could keep his position as a worship pastor. So he was a worship pastor. His church forced him to go through conversion therapy, but so he could continue to be a pastor, a worship pastor. But he left when he got tired of hating himself and found a new community, including meeting his Q Worship Collective co-founders through the Q Christian Fellowship, which has provided a space for LGBTQ plus Christians and allies since 2001. Mudd, who serves as a vocal arranger, says that in contrast to the hierarchical nature of churches, Q Worship Collective embraces a more equitable model. We wanted to provide that community for people who weren't just singers and weren't just musicians, but everyone in the arts who have felt like they've been marginalized from the church community. Almost done. One example was Garcia and her but you know what? I got to go to the bathroom, you guys, so bad right now. I hate to do this, that I literally got to hit you with another ad real quick.
The world is full of places to explore and things to discover. There's truly so much to see. But unfortunately, we are sometimes forced to see things that we don't like, people that we do not agree with, facts that we refuse to accept. A recent study shows that over 90% of adults who have viewed offensive materials have experienced hurt feelings. But not anymore. Introducing Sight Shield, the first and only set of glasses designed to protect your eyes from bigotry and misinformation. Thanks to Sight Shield's patented Boo-Hoo Block technology, you can now live in peace, safely hidden from everything going on around you. Here's how it works. We take an ordinary pair of sunglasses and we apply not one, not two, but 10 layers of window tint to the lenses, making it nearly impossible to see what's clearly right in front of you. This ensures that your eyes will always remain covered, even in the most bigoted and triggering environments. And here's the best part. If you order your set of Sight Shield glasses within the next 48 hours, we'll throw in a pair of our famous Fear Plug earplugs, absolutely free. Now you can protect your eyes and ears from reality simultaneously. So what are you waiting for? Order yours today. Sight Shield, a proud sponsor of Fallen World Films.
Introducing tolerance tags, the ultimate way to connect with other woke individuals and signal your virtue to the world. Are you tired of constantly having to explain your beliefs and values to others? Wish there was an easier way to identify the like-minded individuals who share your passion for inclusivity and progressivism? Look no further than tolerance tags. These nifty little implantable microchips will connect you with a network of individuals who are just as woke as you are. With just a simple scan, you can instantly identify others who are part of the exclusive club of inclusivity and equality. No more awkward conversations or trying to explain the nuances of your beliefs to others. With tolerance tags, you can signal your virtue to the world and bask in the warm glow of your own righteousness. So what are you waiting for? Join the woke revolution and get your tolerance tag today, because nothing says I'm a good person quite like an implantable microchip in your body.
All right, you guys. Thanks for bearing with me with that. I really had to take a quick bathroom break. Finishing up this segment, we're at an hour 30. So I'm at least going to get to the next one. We'll see what happens. But as a perfectionist, let me just finish this off. One example was Garcia. If you remember, we were last talking about this Gabriel Mudd guy, worship pastor, had to go to conversion therapy, blah, blah, blah. We're still going on about, this great travesty of people in the church not being allowed to, or not being given the freedom to sin without persecution from their fellow Christians. Anyways, one example was Garcia and her co-pastor rewriting the lyrics of the well-known song Mighty to Save. Now check this out. Rewrite the lyrics, Mighty to Save, right? They changed it so much that they took out the title lyric and referred to Jesus as a risen king and risen queen. To risen queen is what I think it's supposed to say. Garcia described it as a healing opportunity, right? To call Jesus a queen instead of a king. We sang it loud and proud, and it was this beautiful moment to break the ideas of gender around God and to relate it back to our queerness, right? To make God in our image instead of the other way around. Anna Dewahar, with a Q Worship Collective social media manager, says that there's a clear market for this type of worship music. Well, there's a market for it, right? It's exactly what you want for worship. Make money. Given the overwhelming responses whenever the collective has a new release, I feel like Q Worship Collective should be representative of the body of Christ. And the body of Christ isn't a white guy in a V-neck with a guitar. There's a lot of people like that, but the body of Christ is so much more diverse. The body of Christ is neither you nor the V-neck guy with the guitar, you dummy. For the future of Q Worship Collective, Garcia imagines harnessing the power of local organizing to be a resource for churches around the world, right? More protest, activism. She says that music is so powerful, I guess it's a girl, particularly in faith context, that it's been used to manipulate people to feel shame for their identity. Really? So she's saying that this Christian music has been used to manipulate people to feel shame for their identity. How about to feel conviction for your sin? Man, she instead wants to preserve it as a sacred tool. Well, it's not really sacred if you go modernizing it and switching it around what the source says. For me, this isn't about showing any sort of personal agenda of music. It's about providing more opportunity for people to feel the feeling that I did when I walked into Q Christian Fellowship for the first time. Okay, well, if you want to reduce it, your worship to a feeling, I guess that's fine, because you were never worshiping in the first place. I was surrounded by a ton of people, she says, who all looked and felt like me worshiping, and I realized that I was in heaven, possibly the closest to heaven she'll ever get. Hate to say it. But you know what? With all that said, I'm going to play you guys something really quick to show you how just because Christian contemporary music is getting so bad, that's not to say that there's not hope. You know, I mentioned that I'm a musician. I can tell you, I'm not going to do it in this live stream, but there's still some good Christian artists out there, even including that crazy metal screaming thing that I only showed you a few seconds of before from a metal band called For Today. Seems to be really biblical. There's a few, but most of it's real bad. But how about this guy, Bizzle the rapper? Believe it or not, you guys, you guys listen to me, you know, talk about the gospel on this channel and preach about Jesus and my, my testimony. Well, you know what's interesting is it was only so many years ago that it was this Christian rapper right here that I partially credit for even leading me to the Lord. You see, I was at a time in my life when I wasn't listening to Charles Lawson and John MacArthur sermons, and I wasn't reading the Bible. T. And Amber credits Brian. Oh yeah, another Christian rapper, Brian T. had his ministry, his Christian music ministry, truly reached out to Amber. I don't think I'd be here doing this channel right now if it wasn't for this guy, you guys, Bizzle. Musically, I'm not even his biggest fan. Like, he does a lot of this R&B kind of rap stuff. But as you're about to see right here, I'm gonna play it. You're gonna listen to this message, okay? And take a little comfort in knowing that there are still some good guys out there making good music. And as I get back, yeah, Thistle is great too. Well, you're right. And we're going to come back with some more crazy stuff.
But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty. For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Woe to he who calls evil good and good evil. It's funny how the media portrays things. They really pushing hard for this gay thing. And it's so wicked how they manipulate things. Can't even disagree without them making it a hate thing. I say you wrong and you holler hate instantly. But you say we the ones who don't tolerate differences. There's a whole lot of things I could say really, but see your hypocrisy is something I can paint vividly. Let's go. Saying it's the way you was born, and I'm sure that you lust like I do, just in a different form. But I'm married, so if I give in to mine, I'm a cheater. If you give in to yours, you just fight to make it legal. You rather fight God than fight sin. The Bible is alright until it calls what you like sin. And I feel so disrespected that you were so desperate you would compare your sexual habits to my skin. Calling it the new black? Tell me where they do that. They hung us like tree ornaments. Where were you at? They burned us for entertainment. You go through that? Moms raped in front of their kids while they shoot dad. Ever been murdered just for trying to learn how to read, bro? No? Show of hands? I ain't think so. So quit comparing the two, it ain't the same fight. You can play straight, we can never play white. Using black people as pawns for your agenda. And these sellout rappers that do whatever you tell them. Skirts on stages, campaigning for that black vote. Afraid to be blackballed, so they play that role. You were never oppressed, the devil was a liar. The only thing oppressed was your sexual desire. That's all. Keeping your desires oppressed is so lame to you. But when you get married, that's what you expect your mate to do. It angers you if I compare you to a pedophile. Cause he's sick, right? Really? And you're better how? Man, I ain't choose this. You think he chose that? But I was born this. Well, prove he wasn't born that. But you were never a girl. He was once 9, so at one time in his life it was just fine. What makes your laws right? I'm not buying it, so put him in that same trash can you threw that Bible in. See how that cycle is? Nobody wants to repent of their evil, so we all try justifying it. And you say it's about rights, but you lying though. Domestic partnerships gave you rights a long time ago. God created marriage when he did, he defined it though. So why is it you want what he created but deny him? No, it's not wicked enough switching the definition. You want it done by a Christian in a church you worships in? And that rainbow you using is a gay pride symbol. It represents a covenant with God if you didn't know. Check Genesis 9:13 for the info. Homie, the war spiritual, you don't know what you in for. I ain't saying your sin's worse, but it is sin though. The Lord took the punishment for it all on him though. We just gotta repent though. The problem is if you don't call it sin, then you walk as if there's nothing to repent for. Let's recap. We all wicked and desire sin, but imagine a world where no one kept their desires in. If something was called right simply because we desired it, when your right goes against my right, who's right or win? As for being born away, I should never see y'all ever use a word like retard to describe someone who was born a little differently than we are. I guess Down syndrome really isn't a thing, y'all. What do we call your syndrome? Oh, that term is offensive now when it hits home. So what gives you the right to call the way he was born a defect? I call yours a defect, you feel it's disrespect. You don't believe in God? Hey, the universe says if we all gay, we either die off or have to do it God's way. And God loves you no matter what you struggle with. At least struggle though, don't just give up and quit. Forget how you were born. We were all born in sin, but Christ died for your sin. You can be born again. We were all born in sin, but Christ died so that we could be born again. Hallelujah. And I never want to act like all gay people are the same, because that's ignorant. But at the same time, what I won't allow you to do is paint this beautiful picture like we don't have people from the LGBT community out here running up in churches, disrupting services, kissing on the pulpit, out here attacking old ladies, throwing crosses down and stomping them, violently assaulting people. So don't take my most aggressive lines that you know or to that group and try to apply it to the friendliest, lovingest gay person, because that's not the case. And to that struggling Christian right now, struggling with homosexuality, fight the good fight, soldier. No matter what anybody says, we all have different desires. We all are drawn towards different sin. And my desire might not be your desire, but I have a desire that's just as strong for another sin. And I have to fight it day in and day out. And sometimes I win, and sometimes I lose. Sometimes I stand, sometimes I fall. But fight the good fight, God is worth it. God bless you. No hate about it. I love you.
So I got no problem with that. And the point is that the CCM is getting destroyed, but it's just not just CCM, you guys. We're watching this happen to the whole world, as you guys all know quite well. And we all got to step up. And I believe that Bizzle song, which I happen to love, I just told you guys how Bizzle influenced my own testimony so much. But I'm telling you that he reached a lot of people, a lot of gay people with that song, and got a message to them that they wouldn't have heard at church because they're not going into a church. So with all that said, let's keep moving on because I'm running out of time here. So here's just a quick look at my emails. I've been telling you guys, almost every show we just go through whatever the World Economic Forum has been sending me. I'm doing a dramatic shift right now, you guys. So recently, I only opened up these last two just for this show, but as you see here, every few days I get something from them. I could have showed you a bunch of pages of this. I didn't show you the one where they're trying to get me to become a digital member. Anyways, here's something I put on my website or my Facebook. Fact checkers didn't exist until the truth started getting out. I like that. How might we rise? I'm having a verbal disasters. How might we raise interest in robotics, coding, artificial intelligence, STEAM, and sustainable development in university and on-the-job teacher training? So here's some of the stuff that the World Economic Forum has reached out to me with just this week. Just to make, there's one point in here as we move forward talking about this transformation we're undergoing and the agenda-based nature of it. Sorry, I got a kid in here. Let me just read through this. In their section called Technology, Access, and Inclusion, schools are searching for strategies to foster 4 C competencies. C stands for creativity, cooperation, communication, and critical thinking in children. Scientific reasoning, critical thinking, and the ability to debunk myths. Now, mind you, what's a myth? Well, the Christianity is, according to these people, right? 9/11, being an inside job is a myth. Everything that, a lot of the things that we've learned to be true are defined as myths. And in this new curriculum, it's important for these kids to be able to debunk myths. And as you'll see, how are they going? What will be their resource for debunking these myths? Well, of course, to lean on the official narrative that has been preserved through these systems of censorship, right? But that's me reading into it, speaking into it, having already read this. So let me just continue to read it. Are already important competencies that can be fostered with science education. How can we approach the majority of 7th grade students, 7th grade here, in a given school to create innovative approaches for the future and leverage their skills in science, art, and digital, especially technology, along the path? And are the teachers ready to guide them on this path? This article focuses on the questions. How did the teachers adopt both the STEAM approach? Now, by the way, STEAM, you might be familiar with STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And it's the model that education in America has been based off of for a long time. Well, this STEAM adds art to the mix, okay? And of course, you've already had art class, but no, this is an art, and we're not even going to be talking about the STEAM, by the way, tonight, but just so you know what this is, since it's popping up here, you can look into it yourself, and you'll see that this STEAM approach, they call it an approach because you're using artistic methods to incorporate into the STEM, and it gets into this whole territory of, it's kind of like Common Core, you know, where instead of actually teaching kids the boring, you know, basic actual calculations and equations that are necessary to understand the formulas that we use for math and even English and writing and stuff like that, to make everything a creative expression, right? There's a lot of stuff in this STEAM approach that I believe is actually good. But again, I'm already talking too much about the STEAM approach. Look into it yourself if you're interested. But anyways, and the use of digital tools while being supervised by researchers and student teachers, and how did this change their beliefs about technology and education? Sorry, but this is the part I want you to see here. As a pathway, we aimed to connect robotics, coding, artificial intelligence with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations to end poverty, protect the environment, and to ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. The SDGs are incorporated into national policies and school curricula. Okay, so now this is classic Fallen World Films here. We're just talking about how from the World Economic Forum's website themselves and their upcoming plans and agendas, how we need to use this STEAM approach, but not just to improve education, but how we need to also interject. Now, granted, the future is going the way of artificial intelligence, coding, and all this. I got no problem. I mean, like, kids should be getting prepared, I suppose, you know, for the world that they're going to inherit. But it's this Sustainable Development Goals that I'm looking at here, right? And how they are now being actively and objectively worked into the curriculum of every subject, okay, where possible. Now, I don't have time to break down Agenda 2030, and so I'm just taking it by faith that most of you guys know, and if you don't, this channel's full of information about it. But doesn't that just fit the bill here? And then, of course, it underlines it by saying to end poverty, protect the environment, ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030, the year 2030. 7 years away. And of course, what does the Bible say happens when everybody starts saying peace and safety? There comes their destruction. Yes, a paraphrase. Here's something else off the WEF.org right now. Actually, it's called weforum.org if you want to look at the World Economic Forum's website yourself. Chief Risk Officer's Outlook. This mid-year briefing on the global risks landscape is underpinned by consultations and surveys with leading chief risk officers from both the public and private sectors, organized by the Global Risks Initiative within the World Economic Forum Center for the New Economy and Society. Okay, I know you guys, everything's a mouth salad with these people, but what is this called here? It's called Center for the New Economy and Society. The New Economy, the New Society. This is a new thing they're doing, the Chief Risk Officer's Outlook. They have different representatives that represent different companies or I possibly even nations, but just, participants in the World Economic Forum. They assign these people to this risk officer position, right? And then this is a new thing that they're doing where they're supposed to, I guess, what's the right? Well, let's just read how they put it. It aims to provide a real-time view on critical global risks to identify priorities for further action by policymakers and business leaders facing compounding shocks to economies and societies. The survey featured in this briefing was conducted in June 2023, so last month. These are the things that popped up as what most of these officers considered to be giant risks in the next 6 months for the rest of the year. Macroeconomic indicators is one. The chief risk officers focus on economic risks is in line with gloomy international assessments of the global growth outlook. Headline rates of inflation have begun to fall, but they continue to shape the economic risk landscape, not least through increases in interest rates that have squeezed demand and pushed up borrowing costs. So the economy and economic turmoil as we transition in reality, it's as we transition into this digital economy is what I believe is really happening. But point is, the people in the who's who and the people in the know are all predicting that in the next 6 months, there's going to be great economic turmoil. As well as supply disruptions and key inputs. I'm going to start blowing through this for time now. We're at an hour 50. In fact, I might just cover this whole report on the next episode. I don't know. Regulatory changes, compliance, and enforcement. The examples of regulatory risks highlighted by the chief risk officers included trade restrictions and evolving provisions related to climate change and technology, which if you didn't see, King Charles now has helped to usher in a bunch more of these climate clock countdowns. These big climate clocks that are going up all over the place. I think most recently with Mayor Khan from London. But this is where I just start ranting, and this is why I waste so much time. Respondents. But point is the climate thing. The clock continues to tick, and okay, I gotta bypass my own inclination to just rant here. In fact, I do think I'm going to skip past this. This would be good. This would be good for the next one. We're too late. It says right here, money, because you guys got to see this next one. Okay, so you know what? This is what's going to happen. I put this here because it's to remind me to take a commercial break, to pay some bills, but we're actually going to bypass this right now and get right into this. I'll take it in a little bit, but I want you guys to see this. Transitioning to a quantum secure economy, because, and we will go through next time this report, a lot of what's in here and a lot of what these chief risk officers are concerned about, it won't be surprising to you, is AI, and that there's not enough guardrails around AI and the proliferation of AI. And, this artificial intelligence, as you'll see in this report next time I do a show on it, I guess. There's just so much here, you guys, and I just don't have time. But a lot of what it's about is how even the experts and even the programmers behind this stuff don't entirely understand how it even works. And so meanwhile, it's the priority, the main focus and motivation coming from the World Economic Forum to the entire world is for everybody to start preparing yourself for the digital transformation. We're already undergoing the digital transformation. So people are incentivized and encouraged to hire, AI experts into their companies and blah, blah, blah. And as this, so right now we're already undergoing that. You guys are seeing how the infrastructure of the internet-based technology that we have right now is all being shook into its core because of AI. Well, I'm here to tell you, as you're about to see, that before we're even done acclimating to this AI transformation and what it's going to do to the internet, is going to come in quantum computing. Okay. Transitioning to a quantum secure economy, white paper from September 2022. Now, if you look over on the left here, you'll see this is a really long, it was 34 pages, which I didn't read the whole thing, but a bit of it. I just cut out some clips here because there's something you guys got to see. And but this quantum computing, if you don't know about it, let's learn about it real quick. Emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and cloud computing consistently promise to address our most pressing problems, giving many a sense of both inspiration and skepticism. Quantum technologies are no exception. For many, the word quantum is more likely to conjure thoughts of science fiction than one of today's news headlines. Yet, what are quantum computers? When will the quantum threat become mainstream? And most importantly, what is the potential impact of the quantum threat? Quantum mechanics, first conceived at the beginning of the 20th century, explains foundational concepts of how basic matter exists, changes, and interacts over time. Those initial discoveries fascinated scientists for the next several decades and inspired groundbreaking innovations such as lasers and magnetic resonance imaging systems. Perhaps most notably, it enabled the invention of the semiconductor transistor, which is the cornerstone of the computer industry and is considered the highlight of the first quantum revolution. And by the way, it's also something that Philip J. Corso claimed came from the crashed flying saucer at Roswell, but that's a whole nother story. More recently, a second quantum revolution has been underway, garnering attention for advanced applications such as quantum computing, quantum sensing, and quantum communications. As opposed to the first quantum revolution, where quantum properties, man, you say that word a bunch, it starts sounding really weird in your head. But as opposed to the first quantum revolution, where quantum properties were used to manufacture superior devices like lasers and transistors, the second quantum revolution refers to the storage and processing of information in quantum devices, these quantum computers that now exist. This emerging field of quantum information science will have the capacity to drive high impact use cases in the future. However, it's transformative, and we're always talking about transformation on here, right? Because that's what the World Economic Forum, who we're quoting here, like that's how they refer to this thing that we're going through in history right now. It's a transformation. And I touched on this the last time we talked, but you watch the news and all you're going to see is, wow, we're having this unprecedented heat. Wow, Russia is now doing this. Wow, Ukraine is now doing this. And everything is presented as this naturally occurring phenomenon that's just, or the organic, development of some thing in the world. And, but yet, and then they always say, again, according to the mainstream sources that most people see, they'll say, well, now because of this development that's just naturally happening in the world, these riots over here, these fires over here, blah, blah, blah. Now it's necessary for us to introduce this new thing, this agenda. Fortunately, Klaus Schwab in the Fourth Industrial Revolution, we already had this thing prepared. But anyways, they roll it out for a purpose. But it's interesting because those of us who understand problem, reaction, solution, and false flags and all of this kind of thing, we already know how it works. And they make it a lot easier now to understand, because now that the World Economic Forum / New World Order just has a website with their transformation map that's so easy to access, well, they just tell you exactly what's going on. No, we're not undergoing crazy events in the news cycle. We're undergoing a deliberate transformation, and they speak of it openly and proudly that this is a transformation, and such is the introduction of quantum computing. But what are quantum computers? Well, quantum computers are a new type of computing device capable of performing specific calculations, some of which are intractable with classical computers. In classical computing, all information is represented in bits, as in O's and ones. Quantum computers are used as qubits that combine zeros and ones at the same time, which is called superposition. Now, leveraging the principles of superposition and entanglement, and this is getting really deep even for me, even though I'm the one speaking about it here, I can't claim that I understand half of this. I tried researching entanglement, which is what this is getting into. All you really need to understand here is that quantum computing we look at computing in the first place as it is right now is already mind-blowing and beyond the most people's capacity to understand as it is now. Just imagine timesing that, multiplying that by 1,000,000, and that's quantum computing. Okay. But anyways, there's already multiple quantum algorithms that show potential to achieve significant speed up compared to classical algorithms, blah, blah, blah. I'm about to show you something that'll explain it better than I can anyways. When will the quantum threat become mainstream? Well, the field of quantum computing is still in its infancy, and the machines that we have today are still far from being mainstream and threatening cybersecurity. Well, we'll see about that in a minute here. Leading experts in the field forecast the quantum threat will materialize in about 10 years. Well, 10 years goes fast. it does for me as a dad of 6 kids. But 10 years ago was only 2013. Remember, it was only a few years back. Okay, you already know. 10 years is not a long time, you guys. And I'm telling you, this is, you think you've seen changes thus far, like this introduction of the, what they're referring to as the quantum threat. I think this will be an even bigger transformation than the AI is having right now. A bigger impact than the AI is having right now. Anyways, this timeline, although uncertain, could arguably be even shorter, especially given the asymmetry of information and secrecy across the globe regarding the advancements in quantum computing by certain nations looking for strategic advantage. And because it's a bunch of private companies that are making this. Blah, blah, blah. They're saying that by about 2035 is the time that, quantum computing will be pretty much mainstream, and that if you're a member of the World Economic Forum or you subscribe to them, that you should be taking your precautions by the year 2035. I'm zooming through this now because I got to end the show, but I want to end with a bang here. What is the potential impact of the quantum threat? The quantum cyber threat is likely to materialize within the life cycles of many IT, OT, Internet of Things systems being deployed today. The cyber risk, however, particularly for long-lived data, is clear and present today. That's a quote from this CEO of Quintessential Labs. I'm not going to read through these for time's sake, but you can pause them if you want. It's going to show you these are what the World Economic Forum is pointing out as the main threats that the world faces when this quantum transformation happens. Increasing data breaches of sensitive health and financial personal data, and your own personal information just being hacked by these quantum computing abilities, which everything right now as the internet runs, we have all these different firewalls and these virus protection things that we can run. Well, as quantum computing rolls out and becomes more popular, it is going to be able to completely bypass all the infrastructure that we have so far right now, for security reasons. And anyway, so, you read through this report and you're going to see that they're saying, all hell could really break loose. But again, they're the ones encouraging the rollout of it. And really, they're just saying we need to do these certain things to mitigate these threats. But you know what? I'm not worried about these threats. Mainly, they have to do with hacking. I'm more worried about this threat. This is Jordy Rose, founder of D-Wave. Says here, recent clients are Google and NASA to D-Wave. And he believes that the power of quantum computing is that we can exploit parallel universes to solve problems that we have no other means of confirming. So this guy is talking about some exploiting parallel universes and summoning literal ancient demons or something like that. You just got to see this for yourself, and do not leave now. Watch this. I'll hang out for a little bit afterwards. But if you're even thinking of going, don't go until you watch Jordy Rose here and see what he's got to say. It's nuts.
And the company D-Wave has been doing this. Thanks. I didn't really have much to do with it, but so this was one of them. But just as an aside, because I thought it was funny, one of the interesting things that's happened from the D-Wave story is there's this gigantic conspiracy that's arisen on the internet that goes like this. So D-Wave builds quantum computers. The way that they work, if you know how this works, is one of the interpretations is that you tap into these parallel universes and they do computations. Sounds really weird. But what's happened is this idea has been hijacked to describe something called the Mandela effect, which is this thing where the past changes. So think about something you know to be true from the past. And then imagine you went out on the internet and you can't find it at all. It's not there. It doesn't match with your experience. So these people think that D-Wave is responsible, and CERN. And of course, the quantum key to the abyss factors into it somehow. I'm not exactly sure how. Okay, so that's just D-Wave. I did that for about 15 years. It was a lot of fun. A big science project that we turned into a commercial entity. That was a warm-up for Kindred. So Kindred is much, much, much more ambitious than D-Wave. And what Kindred is trying to do is build real AI. So what you've heard about AI is not what we mean by AI. What we mean by AI is a software system that can do literally anything that a human can do. Literally anything. And obviously, computers are better at things than people in lots of different ways. So now imagine, not only can they do everything that a human can do, but they can do everything that the best human at any task could do better than them. So imagine there was the mental Olympics of the 100-meter dash, and Usain Bolt is the fastest person. Now imagine that's some kind of a mental thing, like writing a novel or writing whatever. Imagine now that the thing is so much faster than Usain Bolt. Like, for example, it's a spaceship, yeah? It's still doing the same thing, but it's doing it so much better because we're limited, because we're people. So what Kindred is trying to do is solve this problem. How do you build machines that are better than people at everything? Now, there's a mental block that we have here when we think about this. Because when you think about that, one of your questions might be, for example, what are the applications of this? So imagine this. Imagine for $10, let's say, I could build a machine, like a little robot that had fingers and eyes and all that, and it could do your job better than you, no matter what it is, and I could sell that to your employer for, say, $15 and make a profit, instead of having to pay you $100,000 a year. Now imagine that was true for every single job. So that's what we're talking about here, is a complete and utter transformative change that of the likes of which has never been seen before in the history of humanity, making the Industrial Revolution look like a little tiny blip on the path that humans have taken from when we emerged from the ooze a few billion years ago. We are right on the verge of that transition now. So this guy, Rich Sutton, is one of the most famous people in the academic world of AI. And like many, when asked, when will this happen, he says things like this. 25% chance within 13 years of this thing that I'm talking about. You know, when you think about what you read on the news, you know, CNN, BuzzFeed, whatever, they're all kind of the same nowadays. Think about how unimportant that thing is that you're reading if this is true. Yeah? So what does this have to do with aliens? So Sam Harris, who I quite admire, is a very interesting guy, was reciting this parable at a TED Talk that he was giving, and it goes something like this. So say I'm the President of the United States. So I received this message from the heavens. So my microwave dish, my SETI dish, finally captures something. And what it says is, in 50 years, or 13 years, we're coming to your planet. You got to be ready. Now just imagine what would happen if that happened. A super intelligent alien race beamed down a message to all of us Earthlings saying, we're coming July 13th, 2030, and boy, you better be ready because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House or wherever you wanted to land on that day. The amount of resources that would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world. AI is just like that. So when this thing that I'm talking about happens, it's going to be exactly the thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs. So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to be like us. So alien means, you know, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out.
Well, that doesn't seem very good. So if you've never seen that before, that's Geordie Rose. That's like a 5-year-old video. And as you saw before I ran that video, now D-Wave has clients like Google and NASA. So that guy's super serious. And he is a reputable figure in the field of quantum computing, I guess. Yeah, and he relates the incoming quantum transformation as something akin to summoning demons or the ancient ones from these Lovecraftian novels, in his words. So pretty crazy stuff. I decided that at 2:10, I still do want to finish off this thing because the next one I'm going to have a whole new one. So this is what we're going to do. One last commercial break for those who want to stick around. I just got a few more things on my slideshow I want to show you, and we're going to call it a night. But I want to thank everybody that's still here. Most of y'all catch this after the fact anyways. So I'm not too concerned about it. But I do need to pay some bills here. So please check out some of Fallen World Films sponsors. As you know, this is an unmonetized channel. So the only way that we're able to afford this kitchen studio that we have is through your kind purchases of these products that we are sponsored by. So please check them out.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Chocolate.
Milk?
Introducing Jell-O Stir and Snack Pudding.
Chocolate.
A whole new way to snack.
Good.
Chocolate.
Don't worry, I'm making you a cup of the smooth stuff. Stir.
I need a snack. Jell-O pudding. My own cup of rich creaminess. New Jell-O Stir and Snack. Now you can have pudding 1 cup at a time. You got any vanilla?
I can do that.
If you can stir, you can snack.
Understand life. Read Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard, the owner's manual for the human mind. For only $5.95, it's a great investment in yourself.
Imagine a world where you could do anything and leave old, inefficient ways of doing business behind. With new ways to find and share information, AT&T can streamline the way you do business, so there's no limit to what you can do.
When I joined Halliburton, I knew I was going to work on some big things. We put out a few fires at work. Once ran into a small challenge of getting some supplies to our troops. We built bridges, schools all over the world. But the biggest thing, serving our troops good old American food. So they'd feel just a little closer to home. Yeah.
Halliburton, proud to serve our troops.
You've got this huge customer. They're so huge, sometimes they don't even know when they've received a shipment. Whose problem is this? Yours. That's why you ship UPS, because only UPS captures signatures electronically. Then you can use UPS online tracking software to see your customer's actual signature. So when they say, "We never got it," you can say not only did you get it, but you don't dot your I's.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
I want more on the UFO report, unidentified flying objects.
All right, President Clinton, first things first before we move on. UFOs. You've been the president. You've seen all the info. Are they real? Well, what do you know? What can you tell us?
The truth is that we've never proved one, but there are things flying around up there that we haven't fully identified yet. And keep in mind, there are basically 1 billion galaxies in an ever-expanding universe.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
If you walked on the moon, we're given the opportunity to swear to God that you walked on the moon.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to get the hell knocked out of you if you don't leave me alone.
When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you on air. The truth is that when I came into office, I asked, right? I was like, all right, is there the lab somewhere where we're keeping the alien specimens in spaceship?
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
I'm not trying to get you tell him to get out of here.
This is a hotel.
We'll call the police.
Are you afraid for the truth to come out?
I think you're some kind of wacko, I really do.
Well, I think it's wacky to not swear to God on something that's supposed to be obvious. Well, would you mind swearing on the Bible that you orbited the moon? If you really orbited the moon, why would you have a problem swearing to God that you did so?
The purpose, according to this document, was to back engineer captured extraterrestrial technology for adaptation into the United States space program. Now, I have since come to believe that the extraterrestrial portion of all of this is nonsense, but that the technology is real.
I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, there is a lie being told to everyone."
I believe that many of us were shown these documents over the years so that later we would talk about it. I mean, how can you keep the existence of extraterrestrials, if they were real, a secret? And how could anyone keep quiet knowing that they had seen documentation, official government documents labeled top secret, that expressed that these extraterrestrials were real and had visited this earth?
And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat. To waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies.
If you show this publicly, you're open for a lawsuit. Okay?
All right, so that's the commercial break. Amber, come back here real quick. All right, you guys, we got to tie this up. But like I said, I still want to show you something real fast. Something
I want to show you something.
But Amber wants to show off these our new kitties real quick.
Okay.
So she really wants to do this, and that's fine.
So, all right, there's 5 kittens.
Okay. There's the kittens, you guys.
Okay. Each kid, well, we have 6 kids, but one of them doesn't really talk good at all yet. So he didn't get to name one, but all the other ones did. So this is Angel.
So we'll name that one Angel because she's got wings on the back.
Okay.
Show them skateboard.
Okay. Here's skateboard.
That's skateboard. By the way, you guys, I accidentally cut that commercial off early, but in case you didn't know, it was an ad for my newest movie, which is available on the channel, called The Heavens and the Earth, Part 3. Go ahead.
This is Panda. Levi named this one.
Fitting. I can see why.
This is Kittens.
Kittens?
Lola named this one.
Oh, really?
Our 2-year-old.
She's always saying, Daddy, you don't wear a diaper. You wear underwears.
I know.
She like puts a plural on everything.
And then
There's one more.
Okay, so this one doesn't have a name yet. Our 5-year-old Eden is in charge of naming this one, but she just can't decide.
She just can't find the right one yet. Oh, where am we?
But she did name their mom, and her name is Meow Meow. So you know it's gonna be a good name.
I like skateboard.
I know.
That's my favorite of the names.
No, and like he just said it. I'm like,
should I kiss one for him?
Yeah.
You guys.
The nameless.
Oh, you poor thing, I'm going there.
Dude, it's so cute.
I don't actually
I
really care. But I mean, I kind of do. It is so cute. I try to act like I don't care about pets, but you guys, if you held that kitten like I just did,
okay,
you would be kissing it too.
It just comes to their mom because she's freaking out.
Someone's got to cuddle those cuties.
me when they get a little older.
Yeah, no, listen, you guys, seriously, those kitties are cute. So let me finish this off right quick, because we're almost done anyways. And I got to remember, look, I'm on the 50th slide. So this show has been kind of a crazy one, you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to do another one real soon because there's a lot of World Economic Forum stuff we'll get into. I guess it fits anyways that I skipped that. Maybe it'll fit better with the This Comes Next show, our other series where we only talk about the transformation map. Anyways, I just wanted to finish it off with this. Check out Johnny Depp here because, man, this guy, right? So handsome, so talented, like a god amongst men, according to many of his fans, And something on the Associated Press popped up on my YouTube recently. I want you guys to check it out, and then we're going to discuss it real quick. This is going to be a short segment.
And just looking forwards a little bit more. Right. Yeah.
I did this at Ralph Steadman's in his studio in around 2021. This self-portrait, it was created at a time that was, let's say, a bit dark, a bit confusing.
I think this is the most personal piece he's ever done. He revisited the eyes over and over and over again. And when you look at the piece, it's a beautiful portrait, but when you look at the eyes, there's something very meaningful behind the eyes. There's something, quite sad. It's a very, very poignant piece.
When I felt the need to write basically the counting down of the years, essentially I just wrote 5 on there because I was just about to enter into the 5th year of the madness.
It's smaller. He wanted to do that on purpose. He wanted to make, his self-portrait smaller than all the friends and heroes that he's done before. And also he wanted to try and make it as affordable as possible. So previous releases that have sold out instantly have been £3,950. Now this is £1,950. But there's still the same amount of work has gone into it.
I would sit with a mirror and just sketch myself, and I would do that for a while, and different days, different light, different angles.
I think Johnny still has many, many fans out there, but I'm also hoping that art buyers will see it as a one-off work of art. Art for Johnny has always been very, very special. It's always been very, very personal. He's painted and drawn his entire life. And I think that art connoisseurs will see that.
So yeah, tortured look in his eyes. I see that. They all look so miserable. I see that too. And it's just, listen, the guy, Johnny Depp, pretty good artist. Those were good paintings. But when that popped up on my YouTube feed, I'm just like, man, the narcissism of these celebrities, and this guy particularly, Johnny Depp, he's like this actor. He talks about how he doesn't watch his own movies. I didn't pull this clip up, he was on some, he's said this numerous times, but he's like, he feels uncomfortable watching that guy on the screen is how I put it in at least the clip I'm thinking of. Kind of denoting how like he goes and he's kind of possessed when he's acting, but I'm not even trying to put any of that into his mouth. I mean, you guys know Johnny Depp well enough that I shouldn't have to sit here and expound on him at all. It's just like, dude, this self-portrait and the way this guy is talking is like, he's like, oh, it's really a deep piece. And I don't even know if he had an English accent, but he sounded like he should with his level of pretentiousness. Not that there's something pretentious inherently about English people, but for some reason when I imagine a real pretentious guy, he has like a thick English accent. But point is, that's Johnny Depp drawing self-portraits of himself. There was also, of his many portraits, again, which were technically well made, of his heroes, and I think I saw Heath Ledger in there, and I think I saw Bob Marley and Hunter S. Thompson from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. And just to go on a quick tinfoil hat thing, since we're on my channel anyways, right? Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Never forget that scene where he takes adrenochrome. He takes a hit of adrenochrome, Johnny Depp, on the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where he plays the role of Hunter S. Thompson. And in the scene, which I also didn't pull up, he even says that he got this adrenochrome from a Satanist who was in trouble for fiddling with kids or something like that, like right in the scene, right? Now, this was years and years before the Pizzagate thing happened, and I'm not going to say any more about it than that. But Hunter S. Thompson, who blew his brains out with a shotgun and was a really messed up guy, who also was implicated in some really crazy stuff at Bohemian Grove, by the way, if you want to just look his name up. And with that, I don't want to talk too much about that either, because I got a YouTube channel here I'm trying to keep alive. But he's a nasty guy. And then Johnny Depp, covered in his tattoos, and just like all these, Hollywood witches, it's a sad thing in some ways. Johnny Depp was another one of these guys that grew up in Hollywood. Like he was a kid, and you see all these tattoos, and
it's so sad.
Well, and he tries to project this rugged image, like he's such a tortured soul and artist. And maybe I'm sure he does feel like that inside from the demonic stuff he's gotten into, which I don't have time to break down, nor am I an expert on his life, but just based on what he's put out there. But yeah, just this image of a guy that has grown up in the lap of luxury and wealth and fame and stardom, and yet he's doing drugs and he's got the tattoos all over.
Yeah, but
he's wearing clothes that he buys already faded and stuff, as if he's actually wearing and the bracelets.
But like, how messed up would you be if you were born into that life? Like,
yeah, right. I know. That's the sad part of it. And like so many of this, like the stars that are most associated with breaking down from Johnny Depp to like the Britney Spears is really
and like earlier, you were talking about like the Disney stars. I don't know. It's just so sad because like they're born into it. Like,
yeah. Most of them are.
They have no choice.
Which is crazy too, because you think about being born into it. I mean, and this goes all the way back. Like even Don Rickles, you know, long since dead old dude. Like even he was a child actor. He was a little kid in A Midsummer Night's Dream, the Shakespearean movie version or whatever that came out a long, long time ago in like the 40s or something like that. I could have my dates wrong. Maybe it was later than that. Sorry for that weird cough. I was trying hard. I got a little bit of a under the weather cough going on, and I was trying not to cough, and it resulted in me making that weird
People
noise.
are just sick here all the time. So
when you have 6 kids, you're always sick to some level. And right now I'm at about a 2.
a few of them just had pink eye.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's always something. But anyways, yeah, these kids that grow up in the scene. And it is kind of sad, like for Johnny Depp, but yeah, these actors grow up in it. We can go off on that. That's for another show. I want to segue from that into just the idea of these celebrities and actors, their pretentious ways. We're all sick of them. Well, you know what? We might end up missing them. Let's check this out real quick. U.S. Entertainment.
A good distraction.
What? Yeah. Here is something that I took, again, learning lessons as an amateur for not sourcing stuff. U.S. entertainment industry and AI. Now, of course, this is big news. You got the writer's strike. You got the actor's strike going on, you know, simultaneously. Another video I meant to pull up, but I didn't, was something that the Associated Press put up where the actors are, I think the name of the title, if you want to look it up on YouTube, is Actors Play Ping Pong, you know, as relief from the strike, because they're so exhausted from striking, from working, that they're relaxing by playing ping pong again in front of a bunch of cameras that are recording and interviewing them. It doesn't really matter since I didn't put the video up. But the point is, you got the writers and the actors, and they're all striking. You know what's interesting is, like, they say it's about money, and they say it's about this, and they say it's about that. And you don't have to read deep, and you don't have to see. Look into this yourself, that you know what's really behind all this is, well, it's the thing we've been covering, the thing I promised would happen a few years ago when I put out the Chip documentary, is now happening already. By the way, just for Doug, my brother, when you watch this, when we put out our live stream for ChatGPT, that was just over 2 months ago. It was like 2.5 months ago. And I said that I projected, and I'm not trying to do the thing, I'm just saying, I projected, I was like, I'll bet you it would take I think I said 2 or 3 months before this actually takes over. And Doug has been making fun of me ever since then, like at Bible study and stuff. He's like, oh, you know, still don't see AI taking over. And Doug, by the way, my brother, he's awake to all this stuff. He's smarter than me. In fact, he was like my co-founder of Waking Up Wisconsin magazine before this. But he's just been giving me a hard time because he thought that my prediction was off about how fast this AI would start taking over things. Now, the media might tell you one thing, but if you watch this channel, you've already seen how fast it's already doing that. And so this big strike that's happening is largely actually in regard to the AI thing. Like, the writers are afraid that AI is going to write the movies, and these actors have reason to be afraid that these AI and combined with deep fake technology and all this new, you know, awesome technology, like, they're not going to need actors anymore either. So it's not just writers that need to worry, right? It's not just like Johnny Depp can keep painting pictures of his sad eyes, because like that's pretty much all he's going to have to do anymore. All right, the use of AI in film and TV is one of the issues behind the ongoing strike by Hollywood actors and writers that has led to production stoppages worldwide. As their unions renegotiate contracts. Now check this out. They're renegotiating contracts. Why? Workers in the entertainment sector have come out to protest against their work being used to train AI systems that could ultimately replace them. Again, I damn myself for not sourcing this, but it is a mainstream source, I promise you. And so these actors are worried about AI systems being trained to replace them. Now, by the way, this down here is like a little a clip of the newest the newest season of the show Black Mirror. The first episode is called Joan is Awful, and the plot of it is that this girl right here, she's just this, I'm not, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but just in a real quick nutshell, this girl you're seeing right here, I know you can't see where I'm pointing, but with the green shirt down at the bottom, she's a regular life chick, right? And she just works at an office, and she's like a manager at her office. And she goes home, and her and her boyfriend turn on TV, and they're like, hey, let's check out what's on Netflix. And the #1 show, the first thing that comes up is something called Joan is Awful. And her name is Joan. Now, she's not an actress, but the #1 trending show on the Netflix thing and the Black Mirror episode is something with her name in it and her likeness in it, right? And so as it turns out, like their biggest show in the world right now all revolves around her. And she's watching like some, I forget who plays her role, but some Hollywood actress playing a role of herself. I don't know if this is people are following that haven't seen the show. And the point is that I don't, again, without giving too much away, because I do like the show Black Mirror, and I do think you'd enjoy it if you watched this episode yourself. So I guess I won't try to spoil it, but I don't think it spoils it. It's just to tell you that the point is that this real life person, a show was made that used her likeness through the use of artificial intelligence to create an entire show. Well, that now is reality. The AI proposal put forward by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers reportedly stated that background performers would receive 1 day's pay for getting their image scanned digitally. So these actors would get paid for 1 day just to do this whole thing and get the beads put all over their body and get a digital scan of their body. Why? Because this scan would be available for use by the studios from then on. The literal plot of this show from WLWT, wherever that is.
That's crazy. And Black Mirror has done that
consistently.
Yeah,
but I mean, they might just be like me. Maybe they're just subscribed to the WEF mailing list, because I'm telling you, it's like you read what's coming up, and the next month it comes up. That's how it is. I mean, it's literally like I keep telling you guys, I literally call a big segment of the shows I do on this channel, Let's Read the Blueprint, because I mean, all you got to do is do the thing I'm telling you, subscribe to the thing, and you'll see yourself. I mean, they say it happens, and then it happens. And why? Because they create the agenda, which is really the narrative. Here, a news clip that just says AI is a concern for writers, but actors could have even more to fear. Even AI filmmakers think Hollywood's AI proposal is dangerous. From Time magazine. In The Matrix, Neo wanders through crowded city streets, bumping past sailors and women in red dresses before learning that they aren't real people, but instead simulations. In future Keanu Reeves movies, it's possible that everyone around him might be simulated too. On July 13th, Hollywood producers advertised a groundbreaking AI proposal involving the use of digital replicas or digital alterations of a performance. The SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild, whatever the thing is, union lambasted the proposal, accusing the studios of simply trying to replace background actors with AI. Oh, God forbid. Like, these rich people, they're all for automating everything in the manufacturing blue collar world, but like for these millionaire actors to have to miss a day of work, and they might have to downgrade to a giant house instead of a freaking castle. But anyways, accusing the studios of simply trying to replace background actors with the AI. Studios, oops, I'm sorry, guys. Trying to do that. Studios could scan an actor, pay for a day, and then simply use AI to insert them into the rest of the film. No need even for a human in a movie. Wow. So it's like, again, I don't know.
No, and then all those, like on Facebook, all the people that are using that filter to like generate like pictures of themselves. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Will you say that again? I'm sorry, not to be rude. Say it again, because I was reading this thing. I know we're live.
I know, I cut you off. On Facebook, like all the people that are using that like filter to generate like these pictures of themselves, like in all
like
these,
avatar style.
Yeah. Like that's so crazy.
Or the TikTok trend where it's like people are playing like living. They call it NPC. It's the NPC trend. Have you seen that? And like these hot girls are just like pretending to be video game characters,
Oh
and people
my
feed them food and
gosh.
stuff, and they're like,
No.
thank you for the apple. Thank you for the apple.
No, it's so. Yeah.
So that's probably like I wouldn't be surprised, a designer trend.
No, and it's
like to
real
get us used
people
to
acting like simulate. Yeah.
right. Yeah, and Sarah's talking about lesser magic. Sarah, I always appreciate you being here. You're a friend of mine. And she is, I agree with her about the lesser magic. They must tell us what will happen beforehand in order for the spell to have power. And they do it in a fantasy film, which is reality. Hence what is shown is reality, is fantasy. And the point is, yeah, like, you know, as this, if you want to call it Illuminati, so just, you know, the lesser magic is an actual established tenet, I guess, in black magic, where, you know, you can't just hex somebody. It's kind of like a vampire without giving them an out. It's like Alex Jones has talked about this before, and he always, I think it's a good analogy, is like the vampire. If you remember the old vampire movies and stories, you know, you have to invite the vampire in, you know.
Right.
And that's the concept of lesser magic. And it's actually the way that sin works too, and evil. You know, it's like you have to play along. It takes two to tango. While the scenario Crabtree, Ireland described may sound far off dystopian. Did I miss something here? Yeah, because I just went on because I ranted. That's why. The Alliance of Motion Picture and Television producers responded that this characterization was inaccurate and that they would establish a comprehensive set of provisions that require informed consent and fair compensation when the digital replica or similar AI technology is used. So again, just like the show, you have these actors and their representatives and agents and lawyers now scrambling to be like, whoa, we're about to lose a lot of money. Like, wait a second, you accepted 1 day's pay to get a scan of your body, you dumb actor, so that now they can like put you into any movie they want forever, and they just sign the no, exactly. And it's kind of like that commercial I put in there, half as a joke but half as real, with the UPS thing. If you want to go back and watch that commercial break we had with the introduction of the digital signature collection, but it's just this whole idea, you know, like, and all these, their lawyers and agents and stuff, yeah, they're like, okay, well, they're trying to set laws in place now so that these actors will still get paid and compensated for every future use of that avatar. Guess what? I don't think it's going to work out that way. They signed the contract. You know, I don't know all the details of every case. This is a reality. This is actual news we're talking about. Sounds like I'm reading the script, the back of a crazy sci-fi dystopian movie. You know, every time we do this show, it's just like, you guys are there with me. I mean, we are on the front rows of the actual thing happening. We're in the front row of it, the show. While the scenario Crabtree Island described, so maybe I missed something here, may sound far off or dystopian, it's basically already technologically possible. Generative AI companies like Runway and Stability AI have released products that allow filmmakers to create all sorts of hyper-realistic images out of written prompts. And those consumer-facing products pale in comparison to the advanced tools that major studios have at their disposal. Kind of like the generative AI that we use as ChatGPT pales in comparison to what, you know, again, the corporations and above them, governments have at their disposal. So just imagine, I mean, if you've been blown away by what you've seen, well, you know, you're seeing the 30 years down the line version. Anyway, studios can already use AI to render scenes of packed nightclubs or sprawling battlegrounds, and do so more cheaply than paying for dozens of actual actors, AI experts say, right? I mean, seriously, like, why pay for this whiny, bratty actor, pretentious, you know, that's got a, you know how actors are. I'm not even going to think. Why would you? It's just the same as we've talked about in previous episodes with, you know, manufacturing, how automation is taking over, you know. It's like, why would you pay an employee by the hour for something that a robot can do every hour for a longer time than your employee will even live, and you only have to make a one-time purchase? And they're never going to disobey you, and they're never going to slow down their production rate, blah, blah, blah. Well, the same thing's gone to Hollywood, and I'm no big fan of Hollywood. It's just that it's interesting because acting, you know, the creative arts is kind of like the ultimate representation of humanity. I mean, this is like the self-expression, like this is what humanity, you know, holds up as an expression of our truest self, you know, like the arts, right? I mean, like nobody cares about what Tim O'Keefe is doing at my manufacturing job, right? And even though Johnny Depp is a tool, and we just went over all that, I've probably seen Johnny Depp movies where his performance has maybe brought a tear to my eye or something like that. And it's because, you know, actors have a job that represents what you would assume would be a true, like a job that only a human could ever fill, because you're playing the role of an emotional human being. But all that's wrong. I mean, this AI, again, it's so advanced, to Doug, who doubted me on this, that already actors are going out of business because they're going to have movies, like actual movies. And this isn't implying anywhere. If you read through this stuff, it's not talking about like Pixar CGI movies, even like their actual likeness. You're going to be watching movies that, for all you know, you're seeing like an actual live action movie with your favorite actor, but he's going to be doing things he never did, saying things he never said. And eventually that might be you, not you, Doug, as everybody in the world. Look at this guy. Because you've got to think here, I threw in metaverse, deep fake, digital twin, the digital twin, you know, making a digital copy of every landscape is another agenda within this Agenda 2030 goal, so that in the metaverse world, there will be a digital equivalent to everything that exists in the regular world. And that's why from day one, and again, on the Chipped movie, which I might end off this documentary with an ad for, I don't know. But I'm telling you, like, I'm no prophet. I can't say, you know, when the Bible talks about this Antichrist system coming and, you know, the Antichrist having a dictatorship over the whole world and this beast system, I won't tell you for sure that that's what it is. It's just that, like, as a humble Christian that's also paying attention to this kind of stuff, like, does this not all paint a picture that seems pretty consistent with what biblical prophecy tells us, right? And what happens in a world, you know, like if Johnny Depp and these actors and these guys can literally, if you can make a movie out of scratch and have these people do anything you want them to do. If you have everybody, which again, we've covered ad nauseum in so many previous episodes, meeting up in a digital space of the metaverse using avatars. I'm just saying, you guys, the Bible talks about this you know, end time scenario and this kingdom under the Antichrist that doesn't last long. Before Christ comes back and conquers it. And then we have this new earth, and heaven, you guys, is actually right here on earth. But I'm not going to get into heaven right now. But before all that happens, it gets really bad. And this new system, the way the Bible describes it, is almost so foreign to anything that we can imagine with any historical reference that, you know, it doesn't really make sense when you just think of it from the spectrum of like regular politics as we know, and, you know, one country dominating another, because the Bible talks about a time where the entire world is united under one point of control, right? And up to this point, it just, in my opinion, like historically speaking, that's not consistent, like that's impossible with the way things have worked thus far. I'm telling you, this digital transformation, this rollout, and now, as we discussed tonight, this quantum transformation, this rollout when you include ID 2020 and, you know, this giant push that by the year 2030 for everybody to be connected through the Internet of Things and 5G and everything else, that's systematically and conveniently rolling out right at the same time through the, you know, through the necessity of the pandemic. Right. So you guys see, this is the great false flag. I'm telling you that, again, as somebody that's not a prophet, but just look around you. I hope that as you see this stuff, you can kind of put two and two together. And I don't really know where this ends, but it's just time to get serious. And for me, I just want to end this with telling you guys that, you know, my faith in Christ, my salvation is based in nothing beyond God's word, you know, and the gospel is really simple. Pretty much just that God is willing to forgive you. Your creator is willing to forgive you. You already know your guilt or your sin, you know, whatever is holding you back, is you already know that it's based on your own actions, you know, and your own failures and your own sin. And so the gospel, the good news, which is what gospel means, is literally just that God is willing to forgive you and made a way for that to be possible. And it's through Jesus Christ Okay. And I could share the whole gospel, but I honestly believe that it's as simple as like, how could God forgive you if you won't apologize? And I just think that the first step, like as we look through all this, for those of you who aren't saved, you know, like you're watching this world that's telling you to embrace your sin. And they're actually literally creating like a technological system to help, you know, enforce pretty much you to be in this state of constant distraction where you're only ever bombarded by the sensual and, you know, visceral and whatever you want to call that, you know, like all this propaganda that's just based off of humanism and off of like serving yourself. And we're already in that right now. Okay. The answer, the truth is that Jesus Christ is the way and the truth and the life, and that all men, you know, that come to the Father come by him. But what that means is the only reason we can come by him is because that sacrifice was already made. And all you need to do essentially is ask for forgiveness. God's waiting to forgive you. You serve God. And it's like, in the end, I'm not even a theologian. I'm just a man that is like my faith, my salvation is 100% at this point propagated by my own personal ongoing relationship with God through the Holy Spirit. And I'm telling you, I'm convinced that when Judgment Day comes, despite everything we talk about on this channel and all the different, you know, apologetics out there and denominations and things that we could argue about and theological differences and doctrinal differences, no man will be judged for his opinion. No man will be judged for, you know, his point of view. No man will be judged, honestly, even just for his actions. Men will be judged by two books, the book of life and the book of the law. Okay. The book of the law is the 10 commandments, and every single one of us has broken every one of those 10 commandments. And the book of life contains the names of everybody who is depending on Christ for salvation through the sacrifice that's already been made. And guess what else? There's a lot of people out there that don't know the gospel, that will never hear it, that maybe, you know, because we're called to this great commission and to go out and spread the gospel. A lot of people worry about those that'll never hear it, you know, or what about people that like didn't grow up in America or didn't come, you know, from this evangelical background. Well, the Bible also tells us clearly that you're responsible for your what's been revealed to you. The Bible tells us clearly that the revelation of God is, the earth itself declares it's, you know, that there's a creator. The Bible is also clear that salvation through Christ was for all who. So what does John 3:16 say? It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." And then the verse after that, which I should have memorized, but now that I'm on the spot, putting myself on the spot, but it's like, it says something to the effect of, but Christ did not come into the world to condemn the world, but for its sin, but that through him, the world might be saved. Right. And so the work's already been done is my point here, you guys. It doesn't come down to works. And like, all you got to do is, I really truly believe, like, if you have the blessing of having access to the Bible, like I do, then you should study it more so than I do. I don't even read my Bible every day, you guys. I'm guilty of that. I sometimes justify that it's okay because, you know, I'm listening to sermons and I'm thinking about, you know, the biblical things. I'm thinking about God. I'm praying all the time. I'm doing stuff for this channel, you know. But the Bible does clearly call us, you know, to be in the Word, more specifically to study it just so that we know ourselves approved, and so that, you know, if you have access to the Bible and you are blessed to have the ability to know this stuff, well, then now you have the full armor of God, right? So you can have the, you know, breastplate and the helmet, you know, and you can have the resources necessary to actually defend yourself from these evil attacks, right? But the salvation gospel, the gospel itself, you know, the Bible says it's a childlike faith that brings salvation. You know, it's so simple a kid can understand it. It's so simple that you can go to another country where they don't even speak your language. Somehow it's been done many, many times. And that gospel message has been communicated because it's the forgiveness for your sins. So I say all that. I know I've really been ranting, but we talked a lot this episode about sin. So I just can't think of a better way to end than to remind you guys that you can be forgiven for your sin. That's the motivation to be saved. Thank God that we can be. If it weren't for Christ, then, you know, I know we were talking earlier about Grace Baldridge or whatever, and, you know, all these LGBTQ plus affirming, wannabe sin affirming so-called Christians that are trying to find a way, you know, to maintain their faith while still affirming their sin. Well, that's not possible. But with all that said, we are all sinners, and that's why I can only depend on Christ's perfection and righteousness for my salvation. Because if it wasn't for him, then I don't stand a chance. None of us do. I'm no better than anybody that I've mentioned tonight, all the way up to Klaus Schwab. But I've been forgiven. Klaus Schwab could be forgiven too, by the way, you guys. And that's why the real, you know, there is no real turning this thing around. But all we're called to do is just, you know, obey the convictions in our heart that God gives us, and to pray for the world. So that's what we're going to do. Anyways, I didn't mean to rant on and on about this. Amber, is there anything you want to say before I say goodnight to these guys? We're already past midnight here.
I mean, now you're like putting me on the spot. No.
But you got to show them the kitties, so that was good.
I did.
You guys know I'm like the boyfriend, and like when you first start dating a girl and you're like, okay, you hang up. No, you hang up. All right, we'll do it on the count of 3. That's what I'm like with you guys. But no, we've been through too much. 2:54 going on a 3-hour show. That's okay. Some people have 4-hour shows. But I do it with hardly any commercial breaks. Anyways, that's it. Can't believe so many of you stuck around through this whole thing. What a blessing. Hope you people that watch it in the future will enjoy. Hope you get something out of this. Jesus loves you, and we'll be back soon with more. Please pray for our family. If you think of it, we're just some more people like you guys that are making no money doing this. But we're just trying to do our best, raise a family. And I come on here and I'm trying to share with you guys some of the stuff that drives me crazy that I spent all this time reading about. And so thanks for giving me an outlet. And I truly hope that it is of some service to somebody out there. So God bless you. We love you. Bye-bye.
My God's talking, said he would ride on a wind and tide. Children, stop, steal, and listen to me. God walked down to the blind sea. He declared that he was the son of man, and then he decided to restore the land. He spoke to Noah. Noah stopped and said, Noah, I want you to build me an ark. I want you to build it 3 years long. I want you to build it big and strong. I want it 50 high and 50 wide, so it will stand the wind and tide. Oh Noah, oh Noah. I'm not gonna ride on the wind and tide, but there's a oh Noah, oh Noah, oh Noah. I'm not gonna ride on the wind and tide. My God's talking, they would ride on the wind and tide. Well, after the foundation was laid, then Noah began to hew and build. The ringing of the hammer cried judgment, the hewing of the song cried sin and repent. 100 years he hammered and sawed, building the ark by the grace of God. When the ark was done, God's voice was heard. He said, now Noah, let me tell you what to do. Calling the animals 2 by 2, so he hauled them in the ark. The 2 by 2, he called the birds, the ox with the kangaroo. And they call in Jeffy, the ham and the Sam. God began to flood the land. He raised his hands to heaven on high, shook the stars and moved from the sky, shook the mountains, he troubled the sea. He went to his chariot to wheel. He stepped on land, stood on the shore, and he climbed that time. There was evil in those words. Oh no, oh no.
Hey, for those who are asking, that's the Jubilaires from the 1940s, sometimes credited as the first ever rap song. And I love it. Love you guys. Good night.